I'll call us to order at 5 o'clock. Sam and Jim, if you would come on down. Sorry I missed the walkthrough.
You were assigned a job, you'll make it up to us tomorrow.
I'm certainly,
Go ahead. Oh, the grant, we are,
Oh, well, that's,
oh,
yeah,
yeah, we thought you had stuff to tell us.
we are good to go.
That's, see?
That's good.
yep. I applied for a grant thinking that it would take weeks and weeks and months to get, and they emailed me back in half an hour and said you have received clearance for the grant for
Okay.
$3,500.
So what's it for?
Election supplies.
Okay,
One of the things that I'd like to buy is a lockable cage for ballot storage, to secure
Okay.
ballots.
yeah,
Where's that going?
I'd like to put it in the basement of the Sand Lake house for now.
Is it drying up and all that down
We've
there?
got dehumidifiers going,
yeah, good,
that's where they are now. This will be a lockable
yeah,
storage container.
One more level of lock beyond what there is.
And what happened, do they require that you spend all of the grant, like now, or can you
I
you
think
put
it's
it in the
until
kitty till,
the end, well, no, it's until the end of the year,
okay, and if it's not spent,
I think it's gonna get returned, but, yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So that's why they offered us up to $5,000, and I said, well, if we take 3,500, we can reasonably spend 3,500.
do you know what the lock boxes cost?
$1,200, $1,500.
Oh, okay,
It's a, I could have found room in my budget for it, but if we can find other money for it,
yeah,
let's do
great,
that instead.
certainly makes sense. Does it require anything from us, Sam, match or?
It does not,
Just
it
sign
requires
the
us to
grant.
accept it
Okay.
though.
Should be in your package. Appointments recommended.
Does it need to be hitched in place or bolted in
I'd
place?
like to hitch it to the wall, yeah, right to the concrete wall. Cause it's just gonna be a wire mesh.
Didn't you have something like that down there before, or is it gone?
We did, but it's gone.
Most of the ones.
We took it out when we rebuilt the Sand Lake house.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it was just chicken wire.
Yeah.
This one's.
Hopefully the one will secure.
so I'm assuming they sell them specifically for this purpose.
Correct.
Do we need a motion?
So moved. Accept the
Second.
money from this grant.
Alright, all those in favor?
I,
Aye. Great. And I just need to sign, it looks like?
Yes, yep, this is one.
Yeah.
Signature on that.
And do we have police coverage tomorrow?
Pardon me?
Do we have police coverage tomorrow?
Yep.
So don't see anything about snow coming, so.
Questions for us before tomorrow?
Yeah. You need us at 6:30 if I remember, report time for us. And it's 7 to 7, but
And then counting.
I was just gonna say, and then there's counting.
that's it, Yeah.
Okay, any good questions?
all set.
Okay.
got cat care lined up, so I'm all set for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for applying for that, that's always helpful.
Money.
Chief?
Take this time to introduce you guys to Jordan Westgate.
Hey Jordan, have a seat, please.
Time to tell you guys about himself.
Go right ahead.
So I graduated high school back in 2010. A couple weeks after that, Uncle Sam put me on a couple planes. I ended up out in the middle of Kuwait where I was stationed we ran convoy escorts out of there. So I was the lead gunner for a convoy escort team. I brought people all through Iraq. So by the time I got home at 19, I was a combat veteran. By the time I hit 20, I was promoted to a leadership role. I was an NCO in the Army. I became a platoon operating section chief. And by the time I left the Army, I did just over 9 years where I left as the section chief for the entire firing battery. I got all kinds of awards and recognition for leadership and going above and beyond what was requested of me. So I got a lot of my experience through the Army, and then after I got out of there, I began my career in law enforcement. I started part-time where I was for about a year. After about a year, I went full-time, where I stayed in the same department for another 5.5 years. I've done an incredible amount of different types of investigations, from small ones to big ones. I've done sex crimes, child sex crimes, I've done bomb investigations. There was that shooting in Franklin about 1.5 years ago where the guy unfortunately shot his girlfriend and the 3 kids. I was one of the first people there clearing houses, so I've got a lot of experience. Throughout my time in law enforcement, I was usually the only guy on for my department, so a lot of the stuff I was doing was stuff that you would normally have a supervisor for, so I like to think that I've got a lot of experience that I can bring into this patrol position, and then hopefully in the future, if he deems I'm doing all right with what I've got, then, I'd like to finally take that next step in my career and turn this into a kind of a leadership role and start showing other people, how easy this job can be. And I look
When
forward
you
to.
do it right.
Absolutely, yeah. So the reason I came to Canterbury is the town I was in before was Webster, another very small town, so I love the small town policing. I like getting to actually get to know people instead of having to go call to call. I like being able to stop and talk to people. If I'm driving down the road, not busy, and somebody's out for a walk, I like being able to just stop and talk. Almost every Friday afternoon, I like going to the elementary school at the end of the day. And I just stand there and give all the kids fist bumps when they leave for the day. It's something I try to do almost every week, and
So they would know you.
exactly.
Yeah.
That, and I know them, and got to know, got to meet more of the parents that way, so I got to meet more of the people in the community that way and start building positive relationships like that, so. I like to think that I'm a small town cop, that's what I know and that's what I'm good at, so I'd like to bring that out here too.
What made you choose to leave Webster to go to Canterbury?
I actually left Webster I took some time off from law enforcement as a whole. I had a side business going on, but I like police work, so I'd like to get back into it. I was looking around, and this is one of the smaller towns in the area, and I know a lot of the officers in the surrounding towns already. I know some of the people in the area already. I've already built up a lot of really good relationships in the area that I'd like to continue building on. So that's why I chose the area.
Do you live close? Are you?
I do, yeah, I'm actually right in New Hampton.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's about a 24-minute drive,
No, not bad.
yeah, so
Okay.
it's relatively close.
So, do we need more police officers, or,
Well, we've had the open spot,
I thought we filled it with the last guy, no? Oh,
so my open spot, when I left.
Yeah.
Or when I moved up, never got filled. The spot that Officer Dumas took was from Officer Mills when she left.
okay.
And so when you start, and in Canterbury, you start as a patrol officer,
Correct.
and I suppose we've heard from you. What do we hear about from you?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was also a field training officer in Webster, firearms instructor, taser instructor, which is all the things that I'm currently still doing, so eventually take things off my plate.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the budget at all, money's already there.
Okay.
And it would get us a little more coverage, especially once Lieutenant Crockwell leaves.
Is he due out, or
He is leaving next month.
next month?
Well, I would think from looking at the reports with the number of incident reports and everything, it seems to be creeping up, as with the fire department. Just out of curiosity, do the police officers have medical training or
We have CPR.
CPR?
first aid.
Do you as well?
I've received a lot of medical training through the Army. So, I mean, a lot of the first on scene stuff that can be done, I
Yeah.
know how to do. Typically, I try to shy away from it and let the EMTs take care of it unless it is a matter of life or death,
And they're not there yet.
and they're not there yet.
Which is probably combat lifesaver,
It is,
CLS.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. Because our medical calls certainly going up as well, so that's a good skill to have.
my big bread and butter for when I was in Webster was drug investigations. That's where I flourish, that's what I know, it's what I like, it's what I do. And with the way New Hampshire's going, I mean, it's definitely in Canterbury, it's in every town here in New
Yeah.
Hampshire, it's in every town across the country, so.
Yeah.
I've worked some very high profile cases from Webster that have spanned multiple states, so. I mean, that's something that I know I can bring here as well to assist with the town.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of big world experience to bring to a little town, which will be much appreciated.
Well, it all came
Always.
from being in a little town, so.
Yeah. Huh.
Nobody understands what really happens in little towns, they think that, oh, it's just a little town, small town in the middle of the woods, nothing happens. It does, you just don't see it.
Chief, he's complete with all the backgrounds?
Yes, sir.
All that, okay. Good deal.
So when would you be going on? No, we'd like to start next Monday.
As long as you put your hand up and wave, that's all.
That's,
Every time.
if you're content and your experience, is it polite to ask how old you are?
I'm 32.
So you could be here for a good long while?
I plan to be.
Okay, that's good to know.
You got 20 years for retirement?
I got 20 years left for retirement.
Oh, that'll see me out, okay, fine. That's good. Okay, what do we need to do now?
Yeah, I would need to do anything.
Say yes, welcome to town?
Yeah, welcome to Canterbury.
Alright, thank
If you
you.
guys want, next Monday, you can do the swearing in.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
sounds good. Yeah, the Monday after, right?
That's next Monday, right?
When is it?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
the
right,
Monday
because we had the holiday.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, so do we have a, I didn't publicize it. Yeah,
23rd.
23rd is the
23rd.
next meeting.
Yeah. 23rd.
So we'll see you then.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you.
I
Thank you.
understand you're on the fire department?
Yes, you will see my smiley face here
Alright,
and
so
there,
we did
so.
it quite well then.
Welcome to town.
Alright. Yep. Do we have any,
So I wasn't sure he was coming, so I brought a big stack. So far, I've only filled in 2, because I wasn't sure if he was too but we have, this is the list of people who have volunteered, so we have some yeses, some maybes, about attending this meeting.
Right. So, who would have, these are the people that are here tonight so far?
As far as I know. Great, nope, Jan's here, so I should.
Oh.
Alright, raise your hand if you're of the tricentennial committee. Okay,
cool. That's good.
Do we get to raise our hands too, cause I wanna be on it?
you're the
I think
select board
you're-
rep.
I was
Oh,
just gonna say that, I believe you're.
I thought you were
select-
the, I thought you were the select board.
I think you raised your hand.
Did I? Okay.
Alright, so
Good.
Stephanie, Jan,
Yeah.
is that it? Cause we already had
Yeah.
Bill and Ron.
Well, thank you all for volunteering. Alright, so Bill, Ron, Stephanie, and Jan.
So we need the 3 of you to sign it,
Yep.
and then they'll sign it.
Yep.
And
And any number of people who said they had great ideas but didn't wanna be on the committee, so
well,
I'm sure we'll be
there's
hearing from them.
there's some people who couldn't come tonight but do wanna be on the committee.
Ah, okay.
So
Here, I'll just pass those down as I sign.
I just have a question.
And I don't think you may want any of my ideas,
Yep.
but we'll see.
Jan has a question.
Go ahead, Jan.
What are we signing here tonight, is that,
Appointment slips.
Yeah, that, to appoint you to the tricentennial committee.
okay,
So
so,
you're official.
well, wait a minute.
Oh, okay,
I
wait.
actually
Change your mind.
have a lot of questions, I don't know if I changed my mind yet, maybe. I wanna know how in-depth this is going to get. I have some other commitments, I'm also, a trustee, cemetery trustee. I wanna make sure I have the time that it needs.
Greetings.
So, do I have to sign that tonight?
You don't have to, no, is the short
Okay.
answer, Jen.
Okay.
The, how much time commitment is required, I don't know the answer to that, to be quite
I would
honest with
think
you.
that would be once the meeting, the
Yeah.
committee starts to meet, and
Yeah.
figure out what needs to be done. Right.
I think certainly, Jan, if you would prefer not to sign, to show up at the meetings and participate. And if it gets to be too much,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I have other commitments too.
So what do you wanna do with Sharon's, just hold that one out?
Everybody knows
Okay,
that.
Just hold that one out, alright.
Hello, everybody.
I'd rather have you ask now than like.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why I see you said sign something.
Yes, yes.
If we sign something, what are we committed to?
Yeah, what did
I hear you.
Yeah. Stephanie, the answer is you're committing to hopefully participate in the process. Show up for the meetings, offer your, your ideas. And I think that's kind of the bulk of the duties. It's really to help plan the tricentennial celebration for the town.
Okay,
The town of Nottingham had a tricentennial celebration last year, and they dedicated a good portion of their website to it. You can go on there, on the Nottingham website and look. They had quite a extensive celebration that lasted for several days. In fact, it was pretty much the whole summer. They had various activities.
wow.
So it's really, when we talked about this, it was really what the committee wants to do and a participation from the community of what you wanna do. There's nothing set in stone to say, well, you're gonna have one celebration or the whole summer have different activities or something like that, so. It's really, I think, when this was proposed, it was the selectmen said, well, let's have the committee look at it, let's get a committee together, have the committee look at it, and then decide how extensive you wanna do it, so.
Okay, I have some of the same issues that Jan has. But I'd like to try, I participated in those things in Lebanon, the 50th of the city and the 250th of the town. So I'd kind of like to at least start and see if I can participate, and I may have to say, this is beyond me.
Yep, we get it, so.
Okay.
I
So
think,
do we wanna leave Stephanie like Jan?
Stephanie, where would you like it? Do you want us to process your appointment tonight, or would you rather just sort of leave it open? Participate as you can? That's up to you.
Well, can I leave it open? What happens if I sign?
I'm not gonna come to your door and make you come to meetings or anything, so.
I saw that new policeman, right?
We know where your dogs are.
Yes. Yeah, the answer is nothing's gonna happen.
Okay.
So-
We don't want you to join the committee against your will, Stephanie.
Right,
We want
exactly.
we would like your ideas, and we do need to have some sort of organized body to sit at regular intervals and start planning things, but
Right,
no harm, no foul if you decide you can't do it. We'll
Okay,
pick
well,
your brains and then you can go do other things.
Nottingham is a good web, I looked at that too, and they had a ton of things.
yeah, if nothing else, it's ideas.
Yeah, and I'm
That's
good with
obvious.
that, I didn't know what I was signing, I was
Yeah.
just checking that out.
It's always
There are
good
more
to check things
chairs
out.
if you would like to grab one.
Sorry.
But
No
no, don't
worries.
be sorry, just come sit down, join the party.
Thank you.
So what should we do with Stephanie?
So Stephanie, we'll put yours on hold with Jan's, how's that?
Okay,
You and Jane,
Alright,
okay,
I
so
was
now
on
we
the
have,
250th for Canterbury, and it was pretty easy.
okay,
You know, that
Yeah.
was less than 50 years ago.
yeah,
But, it was a parade, it was this, that, it wasn't, but now, things change in the town,
Well,
and I'm just wondering how
right, but I also think
extensive.
the committee gets to make those decisions with the select board.
so we now have Ron and Bill Adams,
Okay.
and there are several other names that didn't show up tonight, so
Are you Erin? I am. I thought so. Okay, do you still wanna join the committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good,
Sorry, I was
welcome.
late.
That's okay.
That's why I'm here.
Oh, okay. Okay. And do you guys wanna, or do you just wanna show up to the meetings?
I will show up.
okay, so name and show. Make a list of these names though.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, the
Yeah,
only
yeah.
thing we would like to get is an email address, so that when we organize and have our first meeting, we can let you guys know when it is. So that's the only thing I'll ask tonight. is
You're
to
all
provide that.
on the email so far?
say.
Perfect,
I was gonna have to email you to,
Yeah,
I got mine from Sam, from you.
Okay,
good deal,
then
okay.
I'd like your email, or Bill, I need your.
Personal email, that's okay with all the right to know stuff that's going on, or, I mean, I know it's not official town business, but.
I'm gonna ask people to set up Gmail accounts
You already
for
have.
this.
No, I'm all right.
You do? Plus the library.
Sit down now.
Yeah.
You can use your library.
Oh, okay, alright.
Library.
Yeah.
I'm leaving, but you can put me in the Jay and Stephanie pile.
Understood, thanks, Mike.
I started, I'm sorry.
he's here, he's down.
No, sit down. How did I get committed?
Yeah, alright. Hi Erin, I'm Beth Blair, nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Erin Mahar, nice to meet you.
No, I got
Thank you.
I'm Jan.
Hi Jan, nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
Alright, there's Aaron's sign, so
I'm not gonna hurt you guys.
we can take you one.
So we signing something now?
Yes. This just makes it so you don't have to come in and sign something. So it's just, sign right here is an oath that you solemnly swear to do.
Last time I did that, I ended up in the Marine Corps.
Well, I can promise you that's not
Ah,
what this is.
I was just trying to split it up.
you promised to do what?
It's sign right here.
Oh, come on.
And you're solemnly swearing to do committee stuff.
Solemnly swear to do stuff, I like that.
I need a picture of this, solemnly, so I want photographic evidence, people solemnly swearing to do
But us
stuff.
non-solemn swearers can still come.
I don't know what copy of my library, I don't trust the email, but I can send it to you when I figure it out.
Yes, please. And then we'll schedule.
We were, yesterday.
They do it 5.
Yesterday.
Looks like
We did that,
first
we
of
did that.
October, is that what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
We were gonna try, of course, I didn't bring the other, the paper calendar, but
Okay,
Wow.
so, or is an evening one good, or?
Yeah, that works.
She's in there.
Yeah.
Work on my.
Most of these meetings.
Yeah, I see somebody else.
Well, they had been out all summer. They had been out. And then we were horrible. Oh,
And then,
I see.
first Monday, I have, perfect.
Okay,
Third Monday, I have
okay.
Why don't you guys,
Uh,
yeah, you're next anyway, so we'll get you seated.
okay,
next week.
yes.
Everybody else needs to be there before I can decide.
I mean, I'll send out an email, I'll ask for.
Are you here to speak for it, or? Okay. Yeah. You wanna, okay.
And
Any idea?
I've gone on and set it up.
I believe you're working on Friday.
Okay.
I
He
know.
gave me my username and my password, and I didn't look at it. It's R, your at, whatever.
You guys are next.
Oh, I have to be.
wait for everybody to get here, and that's like a small.
You can,
Oh, okay.
Nope.
Is that it? I'm free to go now.
That's it. Thank you.
You're
See
very
you
welcome.
soon.
Well, glad to be.
Yep.
Please worry about that.
I was like, that's not a number, that's.
Just a committee, for fair. Fingers might
All right, so we're gonna do a little bit of signing while we're waiting. Alright, so I have accounts payable manifest in the amount of $572,391.50. All those in favor? Aye?
Thank you.
Anniversary.
You should be on the committee. You're a historian.
I'm going to join the committee people.
There you go.
I'm just not ready to sign.
That's
Don't sign in school. Might end up lining a fire.
Alright, and then I have a payroll manifest in the amount of $43,792.36.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye?
Aye. Yep.
Alright, that goes over to you.
Jen is here, thank you.
Cal, with respect to the welfare manifest, do we need to discuss that, or is it just signatures?
It's just signatures.
I'm just thinking outside, Cal signs, and we can move on.
Yeah, and I only need yours and Ken's.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, there's that. Alright, as long as they're not here yet. Alright, it looks like a veterans exemption for municipal tax map 102, lot 2 in the amount of $1,000. Do we need a motion on that, or we just sign it? Just sign it. Sure.
Probably with a little piece of paper that I lost this afternoon, walking 3 steps out of the office.
Yeah, because it also has the budget committee who said they showed up.
Oh, okay.
On the outside of Cheryl's, all the time. Assuming that she knows.
Okay, do we need to do anything other than, so this is, yeah, timber tax, for lot 263, lots 53 and 54, in the amount of $3,661.11.
Did you say timber tax?
That is correct, yep. I think Cal looks like 2 places on this, right?
Yes.
Looks like our people are here. Hi.
Hello.
So why don't we can come back to this, yeah. So school folks, please come on down, make yourselves comfortable.
I'll sit next to Cal, Cal's cool.
I'll give you enough sauce for you guys.
There you go.
Oh, no, I handed it out. Actually, can you take it off the room? Yes, please. It's a double, it's 2 liters, so the cotton moss.
I hate to do this, but if I don't get going.
I'll get to do it.
Good night, Stephanie.
Good night.
See you soon.
Hi, Stephanie.
Yeah, and I will show up for the meeting.
You know where you, profit and loss and the budget and the budget highlights for Canterbury? For the town, if you want, I printed out. Oh, okay. It was very kind of you. Yes.
So welcome, thank you all for coming, we do appreciate it. So last we spoke, we had talked about the amount of the tax increase. And members of the budget committee are here in the room as well, so we wanted them to be present when we heard from you. So please go ahead.
So Debbie Thompson, our business administrator, has some information. I know that there were some specific questions, I believe, that you had as a
Yeah.
group. Therefore, we're gonna basically entertain your questions this evening and
Right.
provide you with some
Okay,
answers.
good.
Debbie's gonna give you an overview, of, I believe, where your questions are stemming from, which I believe was the $1.4 million.
Yep.
Which was, we were shown as a loss of revenue when we were doing our estimate back in March. That number's changed clearly, cause back in March, that was an estimate. And as we have closed the books and sent our information over to DRA, again, that number changed.
So it's not at that $1.4 million, so then we'll go over that with you and then we'll answer any questions that you have this evening.
Okay.
So the first part is last year, in the frequently asked questions portion of the proposed budget book, I did talk about the fact that, we were going down in revenue over $2 million, plus the budget was going up $1 million. And based on the apportionment, that meant that the initial assessment to Canterbury was going to increase roughly $1.4 million. Okay, so since we have closed the books, we do have the unreserved fund balance, which has been reported to the state DRA. So $982,362 is the unreserved fund balance that is going to be returned as revenue to offset the taxes. In addition, this year, we had some other areas which we had not anticipated revenue or had not anticipated as much revenue. Earnings on investments, we've been doing very well, so we are anticipating $55,000 in earnings. And then we know that we're going to have some other income. We had estimated $40,000 last year, and we're actually gonna have $146,000 this year in other income. And then the last piece is the adequate education was recalculated, and there's an increase in what Canterbury and Belmont each are gonna get adequate education that will be applied prospectively against each town when they set the tax rate.
So what we were looking at last we spoke, what is that number now?
So I'm still waiting for one more figure from the Department of Revenue, and that is the special ed allocation based on what we spent last year, that comes back as a revenue this year. So if that projection stayed the same at 65,000, what we would be collecting from Canterbury this year is $5,140,568. And we had anticipated $5,397,000.
Can you repeat those numbers again?
Yep, the amount that we would be collecting based on the initial, based on what I'm just waiting for is $5,140,568.
And what are you expecting again from us?
Originally, I had sent out the letter based on $5,397,112.
I know one of their questions too, it's hard to explain why I asked Debbie to come too, is the impact on the taxes itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the biggest piece that impacts the taxes is when Department of Revenue has us do the allocation, they use an equalized valuation. And their equalized valuation last year that they reported that was being used this year for the proration is $502,952,655. That's what they say the town of Canterbury is valued at. When your tax rates were set, your tax rates are based on what you report, which was $370,653,184. Okay, so that's a difference of $132 million. So I did run the numbers today and I said, okay, if you were at the equalized valuation, what would that do to the tax rate? So last year when we had done the budget development, we projected a tax rate based on your town valuation for $13.85, which was a $2.94 increase. If your town valuation was equal to what the Department of Revenue says it's valued, your tax rate would be $10.21, which is 70 cents lower than what your tax rate was last year.
So, go ahead.
So there is that discrepancy between what the state is valuing your property at and what you're taxing at. And so, that does cause that increase specifically for taxpayers, just something to consider. I believe you do your reevaluation every 5 years.
We do,
Um,
we do.
which could cause some swings.
Yeah.
So just something that the board of selectmen might wanna consider in the future.
When was our last one, Ken?
3 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And as everyone knows, the values have skyrocketed.
Right.
So we're at 76%, I think, of our valuations now, so.
Thoughtful.
I'm looking very thoughtful. I'm waiting for questions from the peanut gallery, from people who have more knowledge about this kind of financing than I do. So,
I'm guessing Bob wants
I
to.
see Bob.
Certain members of the budget committee have a question.
Yeah. And we appreciate those questions.
So first of all, sort of to frame the discussion, the tax rate per thousand tends to be relatively immaterial to the taxpayer in town, because the rate goes down, your value goes up. It all depends on how much money actually you need to raise by taxation. And so when you had done the estimates at town meeting time, and I sort of crunched up the numbers, and my notes that I finally found were that, I thought, okay, the budget went up roughly $1.5 million year over year. At the time, you were estimating roughly $2 million less revenue, so essentially it's a $3.5 million delta to cover. Canterbury's apportionment share of that was gonna go up slightly over prior years because our average daily membership had gone up, right? So the number we had at the time was roughly 24% of the total school to be raised. So when I did it, I came up with somewhere in the neighborhood of $840,000 additional taxes to be raised by Canterbury. And then I was trying to follow through the swept increase to see what the statewide was gonna look like, and came up with, I think it was roughly 60,000. So that the net increase of taxation to be raised in Canterbury, I kept getting 900,000. In total, including the stated. So that was the total increase. So if you just used our current value, which I think Calmandy has in at 376 million, roughly speaking, for the purposes of going to DRA this year. We're looking at an overall, call it $2, goes from $21 a thousand to $23.39, assuming the county didn't do anything unreasonable with their money, which I couldn't tell from reading the report, Ken. But I didn't see any major increases coming down the way, and so then we're just kind of figuring in the town. Am I kind of right on that? Are we
Kind of, sort of. So what happens is we have some town-specific revenue, so adequate education is town-specific, and the statewide property tax. So Belmont receives some hold harmless that Canterbury does not receive. So you can't just take the bottom line and say 24% is Canterbury's. So it's 24% of the apportionment excluding the statewide property tax and excluding adequate education. That comes up to a formula, a certain amount, and then you deduct the adequate education from each town's apportionment. So that's why Canterbury ends up with a little bit more, because they don't have to hold harmless.
Okay, so you're forecasting that we need, the town of Canterbury, because the payment plan that bookkeeping is working off of is roughly $6 million. It's like $600,000, somewhere in that range, right? It was roughly $6 million is what the payment plan is, that Mary had, 5 million.
5,594,000 change.
5,594,000, that not including statewide ed, or including it?
That's been calculated into that,
Into
so it comes down to the net.
Okay.
That was your big question, wasn't it, Bob?
Well, I just wanted to make sure we weren't estimating that number twice, because we don't pay the state education tax directly. We pay
Correct.
you and you guys.
Correct, yep.
All right.
But that makes you feel better to know that that's already calculated in there.
Yeah, and I break down that in the letter. This is the local share plus.
Actually, I would be a lot happier if it was in twice, because then we can do that.
That's true.
Right.
Okay.
Do we each have a copy? Do we each have a copy?
No.
I didn't get copies.
Alright,
So it has one.
if you don't mind me taking a picture of it, and then I can pass it along. As long as everybody knows that that's what I'm doing.
So So we're raising essentially another 200,000 on top of what my estimate was. We're looking at 1.1 over last year versus the 900 that I have in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and every $100,000 is roughly $106 on your property tax on a $400,000 house. Okay. And no, don't ask me why I know this stuff.
Glad you do.
I'll be in
Thank you, Bob.
Selectmen for too long. Okay. All right, so that helps, because I was really trying to pull out what we thought the number was, because at one point we thought the number was even worse. But apparently the revenue picture has changed
Yes.
for the better.
Yep.
And if anyone can explain the whole harmless stuff, I'm not even gonna try.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, and you feel fairly confident that the DRA is gonna come back and approve this rough estimate?
Yeah, the only thing I don't have yet is, like I said, the special ed aid, so that may be higher or lower, it depends, I don't know yet.
Okay, so we have roughly a 1.1.
Do you have an idea though in the ballpark for that particular, I mean, it could be higher or lower, but by a lot, you know.
It could be, so what happens is all of the districts send in their report of special ed assistant, what they need from the state.
Mhm.
And then the state looks at how much they actually have, and then they divvy it out.
Right.
So, and then there's always a range, they'll say, well, if the state does this percentage, you can collect this, if they go more, you can collect that. So I won't know until the reports get from the state to the Department of Revenue and they're ready to set the tax rate.
But in the scheme of things, how will that affect the bottom line? That's what,
Depends, I mean, I'm estimating $65,000, it could be anywhere from, $24,000 to $80,000, depending on, so. But in the scheme of things, that amount of money is not gonna make a huge impact on the bottom line.
did you have another question, Bob? Thank you.
No, I was just, I wanted to just clarify, so when I say that the tax rate per thousand is relatively immaterial to the tax rate, what happens when we revow? It makes a big difference if one class of housing in town or one area of town changes dramatically relative to other areas. If if everyone's values just simply go up, then your tax bill stays roughly the same. The rate drops, but your value's up, so the math delivers the same essential tax bill. So whether for clarity purposes, we divide by 502 million or 376 million matters less doesn't matter to the amount of money that the taxpayer has to pay out of pocket. So what it looks like, you are talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of an $1,100 to $1,200 increase in taxes on a $400,000 house. Which is painful.
Yes, it is.
But it's not the $2,000.
It's not two. Unfortunately for everyone whose mortgages are escrowed, it's going to whack their escrow calculation both immediately, and then their mortgage payments are gonna go up for the following year. And it's not gonna self-correct until the end of 2025, because the first tax bill in 25 will simply be half of the December bill that they are about to get. So,
Bob, you said
won't be
$1,100 to $1,200 on a $400,000?
yeah, I don't have the computer open, so I'm doing it in my
No, I'm
head.
just curious, what percentage of people in town does that affect? Do we know offhand how many people have $400,000 or more houses in town?
When we were figuring, impacts of the tax rate on warrant articles 2 years ago, we were figuring out a $300,000 house.
Yeah.
And talked with Mandy, our assessor, and there are very few $300,000 houses in Canterbury. So $400,000 house is probably, anywhere from 60 to 70% of the houses in town.
You mean 400 and more, right?
Yes, over 400.
So can I ask a question? No.
Sure.
No, right? So, I think for me, because part of this, Ken, when you emailed, was how do we explain this to the taxpayer?
residents, yeah.
Yes.
Because
That's the tough
before we
part.
go on. Right, because what I heard you say, like if we had come back, if the equalized values had come back at what we already value, it would, our taxes wouldn't be going up like it is, correct?
No, that's not correct, the rates, so basically, your tax bill is a function of the amount of money that we
Right.
raise by taxation, period. So however you choose to
You still
divide
would
it,
have to,
you still have to raise that much money. And so what the revaluation does is it tries to assess marketplace, make sure
Altogether.
houses are equal, does it all together. What really matters is the increase, and the easiest way, I think, to explain it for this, and correct me if I'm wrong, school district folks, but the overall school budget went up by $1.5 million, generally speaking, to the prior year. That's you can spend a long time explaining it, but, I think the large picture is collective bargaining agreement, actually empty positions that were in prior years have actually been filled. Revenue is down because
Right.
school districts got a lot of money through a lot of the COVID programs that are not now coming up. So the budget and the costs to run the school system is up. The amount of revenue that we get from the federal government is down. And Canterbury has some additional students in the school system this year, which is generally speaking a nice thing, but that increases our proportional share of what we have to pay for. And I think that's probably the clearest way to explain what's going on. And the net effect of that at this time, because unfortunately budget up and revenue down is, talking three and a half million dollars of difference overall to the school district, is gonna mean that we need to pony up another $1.1 million in Canterbury to pay for the school system.
Which makes it very clear for people, and it isn't going to make them like it any better, but
Oh, no.
there is naught to be done about that. That's the formula, correct, that we live under?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
the amount of leverage that you select board have to address that on the town side of the budget is pretty limited.
Yeah, well, that's the problem,
Agreed,
but,
yeah. And I think, one of the things that I hope we got tonight was a clearer picture of what we're facing. But also, as I go about my business here in the town, it's on everybody's minds. When I go to the store, it generally is the first or second thing that people mention, is the tax increase. So, even though it's not the town's tax increase, people I don't think necessarily see it. So they're asking us questions about the school budget, so.
If I may, I just wanna throw this out there, so as you run into constituents out in the town and so forth, and they're asking questions about the school district budget, Debbie and I are more than happy to sit with people and have that conversation with them, have a phone conversation with them. I know it's very difficult for the board of selectmen to answer that question, the town administrator, budget committee members potentially. Bob clearly is very fluent in this. So we are more than willing to have those conversations.
really, you
with
would
the town
entertain
people.
having people just call you to ask these questions?
Absolutely, anytime.
That's
And we've had
That's
Canterbury
great.
residents give us a call and
Good.
we walk them
Yeah.
through it the best we can, but our door's open, our phone is open, we'll answer any questions people have around the budget.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
that's
it's-
huge.
That's what we like to do.
It still doesn't make people like it any better.
No, but it's-
But at least if you understand it, it's not,
Right.
Yeah.
Bob, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so the next natural question, having now done this for a long time, after you explain why it went up, the next comment is usually, don't do it again. So
that
what
was
does,
right.
what does 2025's budget begin to look like? Because it's one thing to have an adjustment, which this clearly was in terms of revenue and expense, and it's another to have it happen again. And that's that becomes a different conversation.
So we've just started putting together our budget for the budget development process, we're really in the infancy stage of that right now. So it's not anything that
So are
we haven't even
Yeah.
presented anything to the school board at this point, so Bob, we're not prepared to really answer that question this
Okay.
evening.
But there's nothing looming, right? We're not,
I don't see any big ticket items. that-
Well, there were a number of reasons why it went up so precipitously from last year to this, and those reasons aren't the same, or won't be the same next year,
Yeah,
correct?
keep in mind that over 80% of our budget is salaries and benefits, which are contractually
So it may stay the
obligated.
same, but it's not gonna jump
Correct.
again.
So,
Which still-
Well, we still have the next year of the collective bargaining agreement, which will go into the budget.
right,
Okay.
that'll go into the budget, and, clearly we work off of two CIPs, one for technology as well as for one for buildings and grounds. And building and grounds tends to be our larger CIP because facilities cost. But as for anticipating any additional large ticket numbers and not, ticket items, not really seeing that right now. But again, we haven't presented anything to the budget, to the board at this time.
Excuse me, Mr. Jersey, did you just say 2 CIPs, buildings and grounds, and the other is?
Technology, yes.
And buildings and grounds is bigger?
Yes,
Interesting.
absolutely. We have 4 or 5 facilities that we operate. And if those of you who've
Oh,
been
that's
keeping in
true.
tune with facilities costs, they're very expensive. But we do have a CIP, both of those are located on our website. If people are interested, under budget information, that's the link over on the right. You can see exactly those CIPs and what we're seeing for years to come. Again, those numbers vary because they're based on estimates at the current time that we put those together, and those numbers are going up, unfortunately, because of the cost of equipment and so forth, and labor.
I have a question again for you. How do you, sorry, but
This is good.
No, this is good.
Because we, just so people know, when we were looking at this year's, well, the budget we're currently operating under, when we proposed it, even if we would have had to slash a significant amount and cut lots of positions, teaching positions, in order to try to get our tax rate down to where it was. But you mentioned the word adjustment, so I'm trying to figure out how do you explain that to people about kind of this perfect storm which results in a significant tax rate adjustment? Cause all these words are very, I know, I heard Debbie explain this multiple times, and I thought it had something, I know I'm on camera, which is fine. I thought a lot of this had to do with the fact that we had an equalized valuations from the state, which is significantly higher than what our values are. So if that's not the case,
It's less about that. That doesn't have much of an impact. The real impact is how much money do you need to raise? How much are we spending? And how much of that money do we need to raise by taxation? So your budget is what you're gonna spend. It's not how much you have to raise, right? That's a revenue component.
Except the equalized valuation goes into the
It
apportionment
does,
formula.
it does affect the
Right.
apportionment
So,
formula,
correct.
but how many percentage points, Debbie, does it affect?
Well, it went up 2% last
Right,
year, cause it
okay.
went from 300 million to 600 million, and then you had the increase in students, so you went from a
which is-
21 to almost 24.
Right, yeah, I came up with about 2%, but 2% of the, we'd be happy with a 2% increase if that was the only driver, right? Cause
Right.
2%, while it's not insignificant,
right, no, I know.
isn't where we're at. So the explanation for most folks is, it matters how much money we raise, right? And how much money we raise on the property. So when I called it an adjustment year, you had a number of years running under an old collective bargaining agreement. Now you jumped into a new collective bargaining agreement. And that was a fairly solid increase. My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, school board members, we also carried through COVID a fair number of open positions where we had budgeted salaries that we did not spend. And so at the end of the year, that money came back in large part, I mean, other than the stuff that went into the CIPs, it came back to the towns. Because essentially it came back, meaning we didn't have to raise it by taxation, even though it was in the budget. So that has, fortunately for the school district and the children, probably changed, right? We now actually have teachers and classroom aides and the people that we need to staff the school. So I call it an adjustment because now that we have them, it's not like next year there's gonna be another big boost in staff, unlikely. Right. And the other major change was that the federal money, the extra money that the schools were getting through the COVID program has ended.
Right.
And so that also quote an adjustment, so the revenue picture changed.
Well, the federal grant piece doesn't impact that, because that was carried as a separate self-funded, so that didn't go into the impact in the taxes.
But revenue is still down.
Revenue is still down, yes, and the majority of that, like you had talked about, is the fact that we could not fill positions, so we ended up with very large fund balances at the end of the year.
They came back, okay.
Yeah, but Michelle, you were saying, you could affect it by slashing positions, but the point was, you hadn't filled positions and now you have, which is a good thing. You needed to fill those positions, so you wouldn't wanna just then say, oh, sorry, we can't afford them, we're gonna cut those people.
Yeah.
So this is the those are the amount of people that you need to effectively run your school, like it or not.
Right.
The other thing I wanna point out too is that even if we aren't adding positions that are within a collective bargaining agreement, like teachers and so forth, which teachers are the only group that's in our that has a collective bargaining agreement. Over the past several years, we've seen students come into our district, new to our district with significant needs, which include one-on-one behavioral assistance, one-on-one assistance, contracted services. One position can be up to $100,000 if we hire them, and it could be much more than that if we have to contract out those services. So those are major budget drivers that we can't estimate or anticipate, if you will. So when a student does come into our district, or there's a change in services for a student that currently is in our district, that's a budget driver that we have to take into consideration. And we try to figure out where we could reduce in the operating budget to absorb that cost, but it's very difficult to do, so.
All you can do is take a sort of historical run rate, knowing that it bops up and down year over year,
Yeah.
and depending on the number of kids on IEPs and other programs.
We haven't seen a decrease.
And is that why you can't
It's-
figure out the
it's
special ed
increased.
allocation until now, because your school year has started, and now you know the students
No,
that
the
you
special
have?
education allocation from the state is based on last year's numbers.
Oh, just last
So
year.
all of the districts have to send in what their catastrophic aid number is. That's the amount they spent 2.5 times more than the average cost per pupil. And then the state decides how much they can reimburse us. So
And then
it's-
how do you decide if you suddenly get 15 more students with extreme special needs?
that's always the year after that happens. Yeah,
Okay.
so that meant
Huh.
that state aid
Interesting.
comes the year after we've spent the money in the budget.
And how we-
I saw you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you mentioned that if you looked at this earlier in the budget process, you might be able to have done something to kind of alleviate some of the extra costs.
No, that's not what I said. I was saying that as we looked at it, to look at how to actually affect the tax rate, it would have meant slashing the budget to get to a 0% increase.
Right.
Which was personnel.
Which was personnel, and so at least for me, I can't speak for Randy and Alice, I was unwilling to slash personnel with
Just hired.
little thought into the impact on students.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but that was one of the things you were thinking about. That was a possibility.
It's always
Yeah,
possible.
every year, Art, that's a possibility.
Well, yeah, but I just think, some people are gonna ask the question whether or not, you could have, take-
And yes, I would say we would have had to slash and cut significant personnel, which ultimately has an impact on students.
right,
Yeah,
well,
which-
but if people can't pay their property taxes, that has a big impact on families too. So-
Correct.
And 2 years ago, the board did cut personnel in classroom assistant support staff.
But the seats weren't filled, you were saying, you didn't fill the seats and you
They-
weren't really slashing people, you were slashing
We were
seats that
slashing
hadn't been filled.
positions, but they were
Yes.
positions that had been in for years
So
to
they're in the
help
budget.
in the classroom.
But
they
you were
did-
getting along without them.
So
No, I wouldn't say that, because we
I'm
are,
just asking.
no, because, there is this notion that you were able to do it without those positions. You have to keep in mind that when we do not fill those positions, we are pulling from other, staff that have other responsibilities. Therefore, that causes a significant burnout, where we end up losing more people in the district because of the increased job responsibilities, because those are vacant positions that they're taking on the responsibilities for. And just always keep in mind that if there's this conversation around cutting positions, that always causes increased class sizes at the elementary school or the middle school level, cutting programs for middle and high school, as well as limiting course offerings at the high school specifically. So that's a direct impact to students, and we try to avoid that at all possible.
It's the same as running town staff and department, right?
Very
I mean,
much
there's
so.
cutting positions is an option, but usually either suboptimal or it has a fair degree of consequences in terms of service
Right.
delivery. And if you're smart about it, you just have to balance it. And but being smart about positions, right? So using teachers' aides to augment rather than full-price teachers, I mean, there are options out there. The town has tried to keep as many part-time employees as we can keep and that sort of stuff, and I think that's just, my observation of the process over the years has been that that's given reasonable consideration. This just happens to be a particularly painful confluence of events.
So I'm throwing out some of the barriers that we run into. So having an assistant augment a teaching position isn't an option because in order to provide direct instruction to a student, that person needs to be certified through the state.
Right.
And if they don't, then we get audited on that, and that does not look good for our school district in any way, or those that are in administration that have certifications that they need to keep up.
Yep, it's kind of like being in charge of a town. Sometimes you find out pretty quickly there's a really limited number of things you can do differently.
Right.
Because someone else has told you what you have to do.
Please know that
Works for you.
we try to get as creative as we possibly can to make sure that our students have the best education that they have.
And I think one of the difficulties, I know Randy and Alice, I think I spoke with both of you at the budget hearing about people not attending school board meetings. And it's no different here. If the members of the budget committee weren't here, we'd be talking to an empty room.
We were all excited when we came in.
Yeah.
We're all here for your budget committee now.
Exactly.
Well, and we want people to be on our budget advisory.
Of course you do.
We had,
Absolutely, yeah,
2 individuals from Canterbury last year were on it.
yeah.
To really help us look at it and look at it from the lens of helping us townspeople, I mean, we're townspeople too, but looking
course,
at it from,
Very
Yeah.
helpful,
Yeah.
advisory budget, can we try these different things, which we have incorporated some of those suggestions into our budgets over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, and as you say, something sounds good, but then if you can't realistically do it because the person, oh yeah, let's move this person over here to do this teaching job. Well, if they're not certified and they don't have the creds and they, the state won't let them, your hands are tied, so. You've got limited room to maneuver, and I think everybody's maneuvering as hard and fast as they can. So, hopefully people will be willing not to be too angry, at the end result if their kids are still getting a really good education with the people that needed to fill those positions that weren't there.
Art, did you have something else?
Yes, I did, I think something like this is gonna increase participation in your next budget meeting next year.
Great.
I think,
Live with
yeah,
that.
it's been awful discouraging. I used to go to the school board budget meetings, and I'd be the only person there,
Yeah.
other than school board
Right.
people. So I think
We would love that. Meet you down.
and it's not a way to do it.
Are we all invited?
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
Yes.
We used to go to the school district meeting, and there was, a couple hundred people at the school district meeting before we went to the idiocy that is SB two. It does make me wanna figure out how you propose a warrant article to go back to regular district and get rid of SB two. Disaster.
Well, that's
12
another whole
12
conversation.
Now 12 people make the decision, different conversation.
That is another
Right.
conversation.
Yeah,
Are
but
there any other questions?
I do think, I can remember when we had the school, board meeting at the school in Canterbury, and you come in and go over the whole budget, and it was well done. And that was the time for people to go, not the big district meeting, but when you're just a smaller group.
Public
The budget
hearing.
hearing.
Yeah,
Our public hearing is definitely
Yeah.
the most informative
Yeah.
opportunity for our residents to come and listen to our proposed budget. We do post our budget calendar on our website as well, which gives all the dates of our budget meetings, because we have regular school board meetings where we talk about the budget.
Questions before I ask.
But we also have budget workshops, additional budget workshops, and they are on this calendar. We alternate between Belmont and Canterbury, so anytime there's one in Canterbury, for the convenience of the residents here in Canterbury to come to those meetings, it is on our website.
Those would be the good
Great.
ones to attend, cause that's where you can actually, by the
Right.
time you get to the final budget
Right.
hearing,
Correct.
there's no time left to
Right.
make any changes.
And those that do attend those meetings, if they do attend those meetings, that is when we're really getting into the finer details of the budget, and the feedback we tend to receive is how complicated a school district budget is when you start really listening to what goes into developing one. So we welcome anybody coming to those meetings because you become a more informed voter when it comes to time to vote on the budget.
I'm amazed that anybody would be surprised that they're complicated. I mean,
Art, you want something else?
Yeah, well, I haven't heard any word from people about the increase or what it's going, if they know what the increase is gonna be. And I'm just wondering if you're gonna make that public at all.
So, we've been talking about it since town meeting, publicly, Art. So I'm not sure how much the select board should be doing, as opposed to the school board. I'd certainly happily help publicize it, but at this point, we don't have hard numbers.
Well, if someone asks me, can I tell them? Is that?
Oh, of course.
Oh, it's all.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a public meeting that's
Alright.
being recorded. So, yeah, it's just, we don't know what the exact tax rate is gonna be set at.
Well, they know it's gonna
Right.
go up, but they don't.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I'm not sure they know it's gonna go up, $1,000 for a $400,000 house.
I think a lot of people are aware of that,
Yeah.
from what I've heard.
You really?
Yes,
I'm a little.
you gotta come down off the hill once in a while.
Yeah, when I go to the store, it generally is a
Oh,
topic
it
of
is.
conversation, so.
Well, in that case, the school superintendent probably get a lot of calls on his phone.
I love talking to residents.
Yes.
Come home anytime.
I think that's great.
It's fantastic.
I know you do.
I love it.
So if somebody wanted to call you, how do we direct them to you?
Call our office,
Okay.
603-267-9223.
Okay.
I have the other number.
I think the biggest problem that people have is that the numbers don't come in until so close to the time when the tax bills actually go out. It's really hard to budget for it, and it's one big clump, you can't stretch it out, you can't wait for the spring, you can't pay half of it, and then, I suppose you could try, but I think that's the bigger problem is, yes, I don't really understand it, yes, I don't really like it, but I wish I'd known further ahead.
Well,
No,
I
we-
think that's what Art was trying to say.
Yeah.
It's been the topic since March.
Yeah.
With a lot of residents knowing we're gonna get a big hit in December, but there hasn't been a range of a number to tell people.
And there hasn't been a range of a number to tell people,
Well, I mean,
which
we
is
just sort of came up with a
except,
rough, I mean, this was
Yeah.
similar to the number you guys projected last December when you came in, you said you're gonna be looking at 12 to 1,800-ish was the rough, so.
Yeah.
We're in that, so I think what Art was trying to say was, people feel like they've been left in the dark and it's now September. And if you're on a fixed income, you're
Yeah.
a senior, $1,800, $1,200 at Christmas time is a dramatic.
Oh, no,
That's a
there
big
are
hit.
many people that are very aware of the range. Nobody has the precise, and I think they just wish the range was smaller and they could have budgeted ahead of time. It would be nice to have a payment plan through the town, but
And that's one of the
I
reasons
agree.
that in the public
Yeah.
hearing book, we do the estimate of the tax rate based on what we know for revenues. And I do the range of the different values of
Yeah.
homes and give the, projected increase and of course, we can't really do anything about the final numbers until after
And there aren't
September
many
first is when everything is due to the state.
And it's hard, how many people pick those up
Right.
and actually go through and look at
Yeah,
them.
and it's online as well.
Yeah.
It's on our website, so even if they don't, pick it up or come to the public hearing, they could call, we can send them a copy, or they can look at it online.
Sylvia,
A couple of people made mention of the hold
Hold
harmless term, what is that all about?
So that's from the state, and it's part of their formula for the adequate education. And I don't really understand how they come up with the hold harmless formula either, but it's part of their hold formula, that certain communities, qualify for a hold harmless, so they get additional money, so they're not hit so hard in a loss of adequate education revenue.
So there's some way of determining what communities are eligible then for this hold harmless designation?
The state has a way of doing it, yes.
But, and they must have that information someplace.
I'm sure it's on the state website, you can look at the adequate education
Okay.
amount, and they do have in there how its formula
Uh-huh.
is done. I still just don't really
Okay,
understand that.
so nobody understands like the history of why this thing exists?
It existed because when they first came out with the adequate education, or they call it equalized education, They changed the formula one year. And by the change in the formula, there was a lot of school districts that lost a lot of money. And at that point was when they recalculated and came up with this hold harmless. And it's a phase out, eventually it's gonna be gone,
Yeah,
but,
okay.
yeah.
Alright.
But they did it because so many communities were losing so much money.
Going back to what, a couple of people had said, I'm not convinced that everybody knows about the increase, so I'll just say, I don't know before I got very involved with things that I would have known about an increase in taxes. Obviously I do now and I have for a long time, but I just think we have to be ready for those questions to come up because I would have had it. I would have gotten my tax bill and gone, holy cow, like, how am I gonna do this at the holidays and where's this coming from and escrow and all of those things. So I think, I don't know this, but I think there's a portion of the population that knows, but I'm not convinced everybody knows.
I think it's the same portion of the population that pays attention to most of the things that go on in town. No, seriously, and that's part of the reason why we wanted you all here tonight, is so that we could better understand, so we could explain it more, and actually, as much as we could, get it ahead of the ball and explain it to people and say, you know, this is coming.
I just, and why I have spoken up to say, okay, to clarify this, is it's very confusing. So to me, it's still very confusing as a school board member to kind of go through and parse it out and like, okay, what does this mean? What's the impact if we do X, Y, and Z? So as much as I can, I, you know, certainly wanna listen to people, and then I don't wanna see this in this budget season either. Like we can't absorb, I'll just speak personally, I can't absorb anymore.
Yeah.
So
But
part of the issue is so much time has passed
Right.
since we had this conversation with the community. So you're gonna have the group that forgot about it.
Right.
And then they're gonna get their bills, and they're gonna call you guys,
Yep.
and we're gonna apologize for that in advance.
Yep.
You're gonna have the group that remembers that it and then got their tax bill in July and said, oh, this isn't that bad. Because they don't realize it's the December bill.
December one that's gonna show up.
And then you have the group that has been thinking about this and kind of didn't know where to go or where to
Yeah.
plan for it. We had a worst case scenario range.
And then the group who never knew about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I guess while the school board is here, the school administration is here, and the budget committee is here, how do we get word out? That's the question, is, you know, we have the town website, we have the town newsletter,
Town email.
town email.
Put it on Facebook and grab some popcorn.
Well, yeah, yeah.
This may not be helpful this year, but in future years, which I know we don't want this to happen again, but could we put something in the July tax bills, like reminder your December one is for the following year and will increase?
Yeah, yes, I think it's the short answer, there's no reason we couldn't.
Yeah, cause sometimes you do get those in your electric bills with the little
Yeah.
flyers that
Oh,
say,
yeah.
So,
this is what's
This is
coming
what's
up.
coming.
part of the problem with putting information in the tax bill though is a lot of them don't go to you. They go to the mortgage company.
That's a good point, yeah, yeah.
And so that has been tried in the past and has been largely ineffective over the years as a means of communication.
Yeah, so maybe the answer is we do all of the above, including Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, whether the storm that we know will come from that.
Just turn comments off.
Well, anything
Yeah.
anything in the newsletter, the email, and the website is gonna end up on Facebook anyway, so we might as be the ones to put it
Yeah.
there, so.
So can I ask a question that, we're talking about 1,100 to 1,200 on a $400,000 house, but you're talking a house that's valued at 400,000 when it's out, really only 76% of its real value.
Yes, at this point, yeah,
The money goes up the same anyways, but still.
correct, as
You've got a
Bob-
more valuable house in reality that the money went up on, which eventually you will sell or whatever, you are getting money back in the increase of the value of the house. If that's a real number.
Yeah,
I like the way you're thinking.
yeah.
But that's kind of how, you know, a lot, like,
The house is an
People have
investment
decided,
that's
yeah.
increased.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had any number of people though complain after we've done a reval that the value of their house went up. And I said, I fail to understand why you're complaining necessarily about the fact that something you own is now worth more money than it was before.
Right.
But that's where you have to explain, but it doesn't mean that your taxes are going up.
Right.
It just means that the rate, that the math stays the same. The only time that it has truly mattered when we've done a revaluation and the values have gone up is when they go up unequally. And unfortunately in Canterbury, one of the areas that changes with the greatest fluctuation tends to be the more affordable end of the housing spectrum. Which is obviously really bad for folks on that end of the spectrum, because that has had much, so I don't know, and it would be up to Mandy to tell us, I think, if she sees any large disparities, like, rest of the town, most of the town, on average, the town went up 25% in value, but this area or this type of housing went up 40%, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything like that, but we can ask the question and see if there's any particular classification or group of
And if
housing
it did, what
or
could you
area.
do about that?
Nothing.
Yeah, right.
I don't like that answer. I just don't like that.
That's the market.
Yeah,
I was afraid that was the answer.
yeah.
All right,
Any other questions from anyone before we thank the school administration and the school board members for their attendance tonight?
when we put out our summation of all this as best we can to all the sources that we can, and we also put in there that you would be happy to talk to anybody who might have
Absolutely.
questions about that, we'll put that
I
in
think
there.
that's what we should work on then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and thank you, even if no one calls, to know that you could is helpful.
Last spring, we directed people to the school district website,
Yeah.
and the school report, on our website, that was one of the news items that we added.
Continue to do that, please. And we will, I'll be reaching out to you, Ken, because we're hoping as a school board and administration to have a joint meeting.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Not only just joint with the school board, but we're also gonna be inviting the Belmont Board of Selectmen as well. So it'll be a joint meeting with Canterbury and Belmont Board of Selectmen and the school board in October.
Great, sounds good.
That'd be great. Alrighty.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back, Paul.
Thanks for the invitation.
I feel like I've never looked.
I know.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
What do you think next? We're still waiting.
Budget highlights?
Yeah.
The budget committee?
Yep.
Budget highlights.
Yep. Alright, is that,
You have one in your package,
Budget highlights, yes.
In your, I think it'll be in your.
In your personal bright blue folder, right here, your
Oh, this
big
one.
green one.
I think it's in there.
So did we just come up with a number that we need to subtract from the bottom at the end of the budget here?
well,
And then we can work backwards.
If you wanna put it that way, Kai.
Well, that's really.
I mean,
Unfortunately, that's not gonna fix it.
right, and we wanted you all to be here to hear the number. You know, as best we know it now. I think that helps all of us going forward. Alright.
I was really hoping that $600,000 of state aid was in there.
I know, but not,
Yeah.
sorry.
Alright, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule, which is great. So I'm gonna just give you some budget highlights as of today from this year's budget. So the municipal building, the expenses include the police department burglar alarm repairs, solar panel repairs. We just had a tree limb go down and damage 2 panels recently. And we had some other repairs that were necessary during the year, so. We've also upgraded the water treatment system, and that's going to be coming out of the police department budget. The municipal center water literally was brown. Not drinkable, not usable for showers, barely usable for flushing toilets, so we
And
have
they were
been.
washing the uniforms somewhere else too, right?
Correct, so it's badly needed, so. Meeting house gutters and downspouts, this was a warrant article from last year's town meeting. So the gutters are here, ready to be installed,
Be installed next week or the week after.
Town hall, we unfortunately, as I think you're all aware, had a water leak in, one of the bathrooms. We took that as an opportunity to replace the floors in both bathrooms and the hallway, so it really looks a lot better in there now, so. Town center, I'm sure you're all aware, we, took down one of the big maples that was dying. Unitil paid for the removal and the stump grinding, and the dead spruce in front of the Elkins, also came down, so.
Oh, we're gonna replace the tree?
We're gonna replace,
I talked with Kevin Bragg today, and he's giving us a price on the maple, the new maple tree. And we talked about, no one's really decided what to do in front of the Elkins, what to do for a tree. So we're getting prices on a replacement maple anyway for the cemetery.
the fire department, the new engine, as you're all aware, was ordered. That was a warrant article. The delivery date will be sometime in late 2025. The good news is we did get a grant for radios for the department, so that will not cost the town anything. That's $40-some thousand. Yeah, so that was a nice grant, so. Applied for and received another grant for new equipment. That's gonna go to mostly new hose and equipment for the new engine. Do you remember the amount of that grant?
35.
Yeah, so just in, the last year or so, we've gotten $70-some thousand worth of federal grants to pay for items, so that's been huge. As you're all aware, I'm sure Dave Nelson retired from the fire department as a full-time EMT in March. We have a retired firefighter paramedic who lives here in town, Herbie Batchelor, who's now working 3 days a week. And we're filling the rest of the time with per diem firefighters. So we're able to provide advanced life support with our stock pharmaceuticals through an arrangement with Concord Hospital. I think we are the first town in the state to do this.
Really? First in the state?
We are breaking new ground here, so this is really good.
What are they stocking?
Advanced life support medications. So epinephrine,
Okay,
lidocaine, Narcan, things like that.
Okay.
So, honestly, Calvin, there's two paramedics, I'm one of them and Herbie's the other.
right,
And we'll be able to access and use the medications now, so this is a really good thing for the town.
yeah, especially with the response times and the
Correct.
other budgetary constraints.
That's it,
Yeah, to be able to do ALS versus BLS is huge.
it's huge, yeah, it really is, so that's a big positive. Okay, so ongoing discussions with Boscawen, Salisbury and Pennacook Rescue, update on that. We were having discussions with all three towns concerning the ambulance service. Salisbury has withdrawn from those talks. So, we feel it is in our best interest to continue on discussions with, Pennacook Rescue and with Boscawen and potentially with the county. The county, had contracted with an ambulance service to service both the nursing home and the jail. Apparently at some point during COVID, they stopped that practice and just began using Pennacook Rescue. And, I contend that increased the cost to all of us, because we're now covering what the county should by rights be paying for. So,
Salisbury too. right?
correct.
Salisbury, right?
So Salisbury pays Art, but they've for some reason decided to withdraw from the discussions. We've been having some discussions
Have
about.
they been paying though?
Oh, yeah,
They had been.
no problem there, we're not, this all occurred in the last couple days, so we're not sure why even they withdrawn. More to follow, I guess, on that.
Well, yeah, because we still have talks with the county to come up.
Correct, yeah, so I don't know exactly what their reason is. But as you know, the police department chief LeBrecq resigned and has moved south. Justin Crotty was appointed chief April 1st, and you met tonight the candidate for the one remaining vacant patrol position. So we're hoping that he will start next week, I believe it is, next Monday. Highway Department took delivery of the new backhoe. We ordered the new grader, which is in New Hampshire now, being ready for delivery soon.
Sometime in the next couple of weeks.
I think they promised us a couple of dates that they missed, so, but it's delivery we feel is imminent, so. 2 employees did resign, and we have not been able to hire replacements. And I can tell you that that issue is not unique to Canterbury or anywhere else, so it's a problem where I work at the state. We just can't find people willing to work pretty much for any price. We've tried significant pay raises at the state and just have not been able to attract people, so.
I got an email today that, from the city of Lebanon, they're paying, police officers a $30,000 sign-on bonus.
Yeah. So,
I assume we're gonna talk about the winter.
actually, next item.
There we go. We,
So next item is.
winter coming.
Thank you,
Art, you and I could, this is good, you're just tossing me softballs. So we're looking at hiring, basically contract drivers with trucks for plowing for the winter. So, it, I think is our only option. I really can't think of anything else we can do at this point, short of making 2 people appear.
Now, is that gonna have a big impact on the budget then?
I don't know about.
Then we'll find out,
Yeah.
yes, if we can even
Yeah.
find people.
So
Yeah, I
are you
think-
bidding it to landscape companies, or are you looking for just 2 guys that
No,
have
so we,
dump trucks
so-
to plow?
No,
We need-
commercial plowers,
yeah, we need people that are like real, if you know what I mean.
not
Yeah,
just,
but I was
not just
thinking
a guy in a
if you
truck,
were
but a
to approach
company.
like a huge landscaping company, it's got a fleet of dump trucks and you're just gonna get 2 drivers for every storm, or if you're looking at individual people in town with their own.
So we're putting out for people that have a truck that's outfitted with a plow, wing and a spreader. And we'll pay them an hourly rate for contracting, just like the state does for private contractors for the state roads. We would do the same here.
Right. But there is a minimum that in general they require, is it 10 hours a month?
So the state pays these drivers, these companies, 10 hours per week standby pay.
Yep.
At $160 an hour. We're advertising at $125 at 5 hours a week minimum, whether you plow or not. So on a 16-week, winter season, that's $20,000 for a truck that doesn't move during the year. So if there's no storms that truck plows, they're still gonna get $20,000. But obviously we'll be
We're
using
figuring
that.
just 16-week plowing season? Is that what we're figuring, 16 weeks?
We figured a 16-week. The road agent felt more like 20, but I said, well, let's cut it back to 16 and see what we get.
Is there an option for getting the driver into our equipment, a contract employee for storm in our equipment?
We actually have one seasonal driver that we've been hiring for the past several years, who's reliable. Part of the problem is, if they're using our equipment, then, and we don't have a control over, or we don't have a good idea of their capabilities. So I spoke with a couple of municipalities and Primex, and they recommended hiring the truck with the driver, cause we have a contract that we'll draw up for them, and part of the contract is if they damage their truck, they pay for it. Whereas if they damage one of our trucks, that we pay for it.
And they're required to carry.
Correct, they
Their own
would
insurance, so
correct,
if they
yeah.
damage somebody
Yes.
else's.
It's a pretty complete contract.
So the contract is the state contract, very, very similar to the state contract.
Will that just come out of this year's budget since we don't have 2
That
employees?
would be part of this year's
So it wouldn't
budget.
have any
We
impact.
haven't been paying wages for 2 people, wages and benefits for 2 people since May, so we should be
You're like
We'll be-
way under budget.
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah,
fine.
that's why. So if it turns into a 22-week plowing season.
Yeah.
we should be
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I mean, we should look also at like, even now, mowing. I mean, we may want a contract for that too, we should look at that as well.
We lost the young man that mows, has been mowing for us, he's went back to school, so. We still have to mow for the rest of the year, so.
Well, I mean, obviously you're gonna have the end of the year break. And so what you should be, one of the things, you guys, we talked about this, you need to calculate how far under that highway's gonna be.
Correct.
So that when you
Yeah.
sit down, and how far under any other department is gonna be, so that when you submit for the tax rate to DRA, given that we know we're spending the money on the school district, let's not raise this too.
Yeah.
Right,
Correct.
let's take,
Makes sense.
let's
Yeah.
take it up
Yeah.
front.
Cause we'll also have the police department position that went
Has been
unfilled.
unfilled, so we should be running relatively far under budget, and rather than raise it by taxation and then add it to the unreserved fund balance, let's not raise it.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
But the other thing, we don't need, DRA will put their standard overlay in,
Yes.
zero it. We don't need an overlay.
Right.
Alright, transfer station, the part-time employee left, we haven't been able to fill that position either. We did have a break-in roughly a month ago, Ken. The person broke in, caused minor damage and took some petty cash out of the cash box in Dave's office. So what we've done is change the alarm codes. And also, there is no more cash stored at the transfer station. So that's removed at the end of each shift.
And we're still hiring from, what is the name of the company that people,
People ready.
People Ready, oh, I can't remember that, People Ready.
Although I think a lot of times they're not able to get people, are they?
Depends.
Yeah.
Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And that's just the Saturdays if we need them.
Yeah.
If you remember from, our last town meeting, the land use administrator position was created. And we have hired a person and she's begun working with, staff here and the boards as well. IT, new computer for the land use administrator, and the police department has added a tablet for the new cruiser. Taxes, year to date, we've collected $4,208,080.47, which includes back taxes from previous years and interest and penalties. We have a total of $111,743.21 in back taxes owed. Revenue received $12,045.66 from the Sand Lake Trust disbursement. That's going to be deposited into the capital reserve account with a balance of $69,172.58. Broadband expansion, as you know, Comcast has been stringing cable all over town. They have actually begun making connections already, so that was a big topic at the last
People on Hackleboro Road are particularly excited.
yeah, a lot of people are, so. Alright, budget lines are in expected areas of expenses, except for the legal budget. We have overexpended that line item by over $10,000. The planning board expended more than half of the $20,000 that had been expended. We put a new policy in place that requires approval before they consult any legal counsel.
Who can approve that? And
They notify or the select, so.
Was there a particular legal issue that came up?
They had I'm gonna call it a fairly contentious year, so,
historically, they've always done that. I mean, that,
they really consulted the attorneys this year.
yeah.
It's that has been a real challenge just to watch.
Yeah.
And to sort of follow through this year, and it's absolutely, because we had that policy in years past, and we had it for the other body, we had it for ZBA, we had it for planning that said you can't, in conservation, we had a policy in the past that said you can't spend any money, you don't have any expenditure authority only the select board has expenditure authority, and if you want to consult the attorney, you need to get permission.
Yeah.
The one thing they tried to sneak, I shouldn't say that. They suggested of having their own legal budget, we wouldn't want to do that.
No.
Yeah.
Because that was just asking for,
Yep.
I think when we start to frame the conversation for 2025, I think that land use administrative position could be revisited as well. Because I think if the PB didn't tie itself into as many knots as they tie themselves into, that there'd be an opportunity to manage without it.
Well, I think I see how the boards end up using that position, especially with, like Lois leaving town.
Yeah.
The volunteer nature of the boards, the legal issues that have come up with, right to know stuff and everything. It might end up to be but I think the year will tell.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I guess this may be as good a time as any to bring up the fact that the town incurred about $700 worth of expenses to reimburse an attorney because the ZBA chair made a decision to not release publicly available documents to a resident. So he hired an attorney, we ended up having to reimburse $700 some odd dollars, I don't remember exactly the amount, so.
Hence some additional education about right to know law and public records keeping, which
We
is
try.
something that you always have to do.
We had the town council do two right to know presentations to all the town boards and committees. And it was very well attended, it was nice to see.
Let's see, the last thing is direct assistance, we've had to overexpend this line.
Yeah, where our hands are tied with direct assistance in a lot of cases, and that's, we budgeted on a, it's kind of a guess on what we're gonna spend, and so, but we've had several requests this year and we funded those, so. I have a few more, Scott has kind of taken the lead on this, my voice has gone today. So, a couple more things, we talked about the gutters, the gazebo, which was another warrant article. I talked to Eric Baker today, he's gluing all the railings up, and he should be working on it in the next couple of weeks. The folder inserter for the town clerk was purchased. The website, the contract was awarded, and we're working on a new website,
You're building it as we speak.
rolling it as we speak.
Any idea when that might roll out, when we get to play with it to?
Well, they have to finish building it and then they have to populate it with all the information, so it's gonna depend on how, they do that.
By year's end?
We'll have it, we should have it built within the next couple of weeks, populated by the end of October and ready to put out to the world well before the end of the year.
Oh, great, perfect. Thank you.
The mini split at the Historical Society was installed. The Maple Grove Cemetery is almost complete, that was a warrant article, and all that work is almost complete.
Yep.
Ken?
Very good, we purchased we did several things, we cleaned up the bottom of the cemetery, so we increased the number of lots available by 400, so that'll cover us for years to come. And then we had a chance to buy a lot behind us, which gave us the option to go in and cut some dangerous trees, so that's in our budget to do that as well this year, I think, so.
The steam cleaner up at the highway garage is purchased. Heard about the grant for election material earlier today. I think everybody's aware that Lois, the planning board secretary, is leaving and Michelle Hammond is taking over. The only big ticket item I have so far for the 25 budget is a request from the solid waste committee to potentially have a hazardous waste day in 2025. We haven't had one for almost 10 years, and so they're gonna get estimates for a hazardous waste day just for the town of Canterbury and give us some prices, so. Right now, that's the only real big expense we have.
What about the garage? Is that I've heard rumors they were looking at doing it, maybe
Sam Lake
not.
Garage?
Yeah,
So we have, as you heard earlier, we have $69,000 in the capital reserve account, for the Sam Lake property. It's kinda up to it's obviously up to the board of selectmen what they do with it. It's a town building and they have the authority for that, so,
Does the 69, does the balance include the 12 that went in this year?
yes.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that needs to be done, it'd be nice to do it without tax impact, and that fund, that's such a limited use fund, right, that
Yeah.
it just sort of makes sense to.
Yeah.
What else would you use it on?
Right.
You could, pay more parking, I mean, there are things obviously you can do over the years.
No, that's the last piece of the property that really needs to be attended to.
what's the goal of the building?
I
That's
think
really
there's a
considered.
lot of discussion about what the goal for that building is. And once that's decided, I would think that we could finally do the work on it.
I've heard the spectrum of what they're trying to achieve, or, from word of mouth.
There are a lot of people who want a piece of that building, I think, so.
The original,
It's not a lot of money.
yeah, the original committee that did the redesign, which I was on at the time, that was identified to be a climate storage for the town records.
Yeah.
That are now currently filling up the front office in Sam Lake House and getting full. So that, I think that might, and it's, if we rebuilt it properly, it would be suitable storage for it, especially if we climate control it. And that
And all
that
the
would
stuff
be,
that's in the basement.
that was the original plan, and to my knowledge still is, the current plan for that building is that it's belongs to town storage, and it needs to be a town use function.
And there's still everything that's in the basement that is not accessible if we had a hire that couldn't use the stairs. So whatever's down there could also go into that building, but that's a whole separate discussion about what happens with the Sam Lake house, garage, yeah.
Yes, separate discussion, but you're not planning.
But there's money for it.
There is money, I don't know what you can do with 70 grand, but you could do it in
I've
stages.
asked,
But not much.
contacted two contractors to give me an estimate to see at least a ballpark, for later in October to see what their costs would be for making a climate controlled environment.
I would like to find out how much it would cost to make the roof a slate roof like the Sam Lake House.
More than
We have-
69.
we
Is that a little bring your head up your face?
We have 2 boxes of slate, extra slate.
Stretch it.
So,
Really have to stretch.
You need Mark Hopkins to have somebody.
To have another
who did a
job.
Somewhere with excess material, who can snarf
the
the
same
short
thing.
money.
What? I mean,
Well, if it was enough to do one side of the roof,
Yeah.
Well, what's also probably built
all
old
chairs.
not slates.
all right.
That's just
Minor
Jeff is here. Then I'm gonna let them know.
So, he's here.
I got a
for that.
few minutes I
Right,
can play
investments,
with.
yeah. I don't know if you wanna.
What? What do you think?
Well, unless you have more questions.
No, that's what,
Then we could kind of wrap this part.
kind of what I was thinking.
Yes, my only question was, in terms of the budget, what do you guys need from the budget committee? And when, in terms of helping the map for next year, 'cause I can tell you that the word no probably needs to figure prominently, in your vocabulary going as you prepare the 2025 budget, because
Agreed.
of where the tax rate is gonna land, this is coming
Yep.
year, this is just gonna have to be a really flat year for the town, no big tickets.
So I certainly, in my discussions with pretty much everybody, that has been the discussion. And I don't think that shocks anybody here. I think that we have to do this. This has to be a lean year. I don't know of, maybe one warrant article, maybe. But other than that, there are no warrant articles to my knowledge coming from the fire department or the police department. So that I think will certainly help. But yes, I'm in complete agreement. The other
Yeah,
two,
I'm in agreement
Oh,
too.
yeah, that's
I've been
the one-
talking 1.5, so it's nicer to hear a lower number, at least on that portion of it.
yeah, agreed.
But still a lot of.
Well, and this
Yeah,
is
it's
the.
annoying to hear that it's 200,000 higher than I thought it was gonna be when I was crunching the numbers in the spring, but.
Right.
But at least it's at the low end of the range.
Yeah. Yeah, and certainly I think Calvin, I think you suggested that maybe we work with the school board or the school administration or both to kind of start spreading the word now, that we have a better idea of what's coming.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
easier to budget 90 days out than getting that bill in December and go, whoa.
I agree.
No, I think that's a good idea, I think you have to be.
Well, that was part of our reason of inviting everybody here,
Yeah.
so we had a better idea, so we could speak with knowledge about what the numbers were gonna be.
Yeah.
If you keep saying, well, it's gonna,
Well, that's-
we have a better idea now.
The challenge is to release a number before you know what the final number is, can
Right.
cause issues. But I
Yes, it
think
can.
you have enough information to suggest that people need to be prepared for
Right.
And at least we have a
substantial
fairly
increase
good
in
idea of the
December
number.
tax bill and
Yeah.
in in this range, and yeah, I think you need to do that.
This meeting will be posted on YouTube.
There we go.
So,
Yeah, that'll
That's
help
another
public
place to
knowledge.
look.
hope that the word circulates a little bit from that too.
Monitor.
Yeah.
Monitor, our,
Yeah.
on the monitor conversation.
He's got a question.
Alright,
I have a quick question.
sure.
I'm not sure, it involves revenue. I was looking at the town report, and I noticed in the 2023 actual, there was additional revenue line 3120, land use change tax. I'm just wondering if that's something that we're gonna be getting money from the land use change tax fund?
So right now, the land use change tax fund stands at about $312,000. We have received some this year. It's hard to know. It's based on if somebody sells a piece of property or changes the value or the use of a property, then that.
Yeah, we never got it before.
Well, the town,
So that is only for the Conservation Commission to spend.
Okay.
That's not for tax.
Oh, I thought this was the contribution
No,
to the town.
no.
No, what
No,
you
no.
might,
I thought Bob snuck that in on me.
No, no, no.
no, what you might see in there though is, you might see a line item that where
Okay.
the Conservation Commission is using land use change
They
tax
are.
for some town expense, and that
Yeah.
they
Well-
would vote to put that inbound.
If they're gonna buy conservation
although
property or
I
do
do
Buy
easements
conservation
or.
property or buy easement or do a
Yeah.
project or something.
I do think that would be a good idea, by the way,
What?
help reduce the taxes.
I'm glad you like
So-
that idea.
Some people never change it. So noted.
So Scott,
Yes.
how, this is probably tangential, with the highway department having vacancies and trying to get through the winter, how will that affect their budget next year in terms of trying to hire? If we can't hire people at the 18 or 23, whatever it was listed at, are they gonna consider offering a higher rate to start people? Is that something we should consider for?
We've been considering all kinds of incentives,
Yeah.
and we haven't come up with something yet that.
Because I know we tried with the police department with a take-home cruiser,
Correct.
like, I live on a garbage dirt road and it hasn't been graded in a year, so it's like, I support them, but as a taxpayer, it's, a lot of people are getting,
Yeah.
you can't point the finger, there's only one guy in the crew, but we're doing something to plan to remedy.
Well, it's.
The only thing we could really do is another wage survey. I will tell you that I've talked to other towns and they're in the same boat as we are, unfortunately. Hiring for municipal highway departments is very difficult right now.
Could we work in conjunction with the neighboring town like we do with fire or police coverage and say, hey Loudon, can we steal your guys for 2 days a week to grade some
Yeah.
roads? I mean, it's
It
that
seems
time
like
of
we
year,
should
so
be able
far.
to pool with
It's-
nobody's being able to find anybody.
Right.
Yeah, that's a thought, I think to Calvin's point, which is a good one, but as we craft the 2025
We need
budget
to-
going forward,
Yeah.
we need to identify how we might deploy a different approach, and everything that can work, right, sign-on bonuses, performance retention bonuses.
Perhaps housing.
Housing,
Yeah, they move here, they get a bathroom.
Well, we have people
all of
that-
the above
yeah.
needs to factor into how we budget for next year, and then we have to look at what are the other alternatives, what portion of the work can get contracted, like if you're not, I mean, you can contract summer work as well as winter work, depends on.
Yeah. And there is obviously a savings of not paying 2 workers since May, salary benefits, all that is a savings.
But having to
The
put
real-
stuff out to bid can bite you in the butt later too.
Agreed.
If you put
Well-
out bids for plowing, some guy can just come in and say, yeah, 80 grand, take it or leave it, and you're gonna have no choice.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
The other component, which I'm sure you guys are thinking about, is as we go through this winter, not having a full highway crew to address barricades, the flooding, the trees that come down, the ice storms and the snow and the slush, so we kind of, I know, I'm sure you guys have it, but we need a backup, we need a plan B.
yeah.
Plan B requires warm bodies, which seems to be the problem finding at any cost.
Yes,
So,
I know.
yeah.
For a volunteer crew that hits the road with their chainsaw.
Well, we've got those too.
Been there, done that.
It may come to that,
Yeah.
Alright,
Yes, but
Okay.
being
Understood.
creative, thinking about whatever
Alright.
incentives.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bob, when's the next budget committee meeting? When's the next budget committee meeting?
I don't want it.
I don't know. When is it? Alright,
Tuesday,
alright.
yeah, I mean, given where we're at, we may wanna meet sooner than that.
Yes, see how things
Require
play out with the school district.
creativity.
Well, I mean, we should actually come up with a plan, we're gonna draft something to go out to the public. That should be sooner rather than later, especially after this.
alright, why don't we get Jeff in
Yeah.
before he's gotta leave?
No.
Okay, I can figure it out later.
Is that Cheryl's or?
There's those historic bottles in it, who was that?
Oh, that's Bill, that's Bill,
Okay,
Bill Adams.
Bill Adams.
alright.
Oh, yeah, he was sitting right there. Alright, Jeff is here, and he needs to be out of here by 7.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
A few minutes, okay, we're good?
What's this?
That's the show.
Oh, for the budget committee.
Yeah, so we're here to see if we can finalize window dressers thing. Kent, I got your email, and my apologies. You mentioned that 13th window, I was like, well, where is it? And then Beth sent me a picture today, like
Yeah, the
it's the one
13th
going
window.
down the stairwell,
Yeah.
you don't think about that one because you
Yeah.
see it from the inside.
Yeah.
The short on, I went and walked over there, ideally I wanna measure it.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling the stairwell's right there,
Yes,
so I think.
Should be identical.
What I could probably do is look across all my measurements, they're all pretty close,
What is it?
you know.
you had to be within like an eighth of an inch or something.
It actually
You did
is to the
something.
100th of
For
an
the
inch.
100th of an inch. You would need somebody there to help you measure, so you don't fall down those stairs.
Yeah,
It is-
no, so I'll look at it, it's not a big deal, I
If
can
you want, I
probably,
can bring a ladder up and hold it while you.
I'm sure we can get around it. So, we want to add the 13th one, that's not a big deal. Without the form lesson, so I sent out the email before, Kent expressed in the cocktail message that the white would be the preferred.
That would be mine, but this is gonna be the only time we're gonna have to address these windows, because they're gonna be covered with plastic after that, correct? Wraps around it.
Yeah, unless they got destroyed and you went for the rewrap, then you'd have a chance to repaint it.
But you see the wood or the white, even under the plastic.
Right, from, yeah.
I would have said the white too, and I think the historic, if we wanted to ask with
Yeah, I
historic,
think, yeah,
then they don't, it doesn't catch your eye and they just.
yeah, and it's easy enough now,
Yes.
so.
So-
let's do it.
It worked out for windows on the white was like $70.50. I wanted to do an estimate if the 13th one got thrown in, so I just kind of took that average number. It came, this will be plus or minus 10 cents, the software
Yeah.
does it down to the penny. But it'd be $942.51 for 13 windows white. Would be the, as soon as I measure, I can get you an exact number. But I want to give you a pretty solid number.
Was somewhere in the estimate, I didn't see it, and I might have missed it, was what that ends up saving in heating over the.
They have, some thumb rules, and I didn't bring those with me. You
said
recommended.
You said 8 gallons a year per window.
Oh,
Okay.
And I imagine that building's gonna be on the higher side. If there's one building I have measured through this whole campaign, that's probably the one that needs it most, so.
So that makes sense.
That's window dressers, thumb rule, they also have another one about, I forget how they express it, but that was, you referenced the one. I gotta take it, I believe I don't have the expertise to analyze that.
Jeff, wasn't there a fairly short window in which we could order?
So the order's I basically have all the information you need, except for this one
Except for the
additional window.
13th window, yeah.
They had asked that October 4th payment date, but Allison, our regional director, kind of said, if you guys need a couple extra weeks, I could probably work that. So
Okay.
I like to honor the October 4th,
Yeah.
but
When's our
I
next?
I have a little bit of wiggle.
Okay, so we've got time.
I know it won't save you any money, but I did express to Ruth, Heath that I would be more than willing to help.
Oh, on the volunteer side?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'll forward you the sign up sheet if you haven't seen it's this website that you go to for, and you pick your slot and put your name down.
Okay.
It's all web-based.
What's heating oil going for a moment, cause it's 104 gallons then, 8 gallons per window per year. And 8 times 13 windows, it's 104 gallons for the year. What's heating oil going, do we know?
On propane.
Yeah, I'm propane as well.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Maybe $3 a gallon?
Yeah, I would think so, or maybe even more,
Maybe more.
It's probably gas.
Anybody Edgar to use oil?
$3.90.
There you go. Let's use $4.
Yeah.
Alrighty,
The math is easier,
there we go, that's it.
but
So it doesn't-
pays for itself in just a couple of years.
Yeah, that's the other number I remember.
Yeah, that's the
They-
important number, I think, really.
They figure at least in 2 years you should have that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, wait.
Alright, so that's.
So
4
how
years,
would you like me
2
to
Yeah, 2 years, there you go.
proceed? I'll get you a final number.
Yes, that I think is what we need, Jeff, to proceed, measure for the 13th window.
Okay.
Give us the final number, and then I think we can just.
Should I just send in to Cal or Ken?
Yeah, and then at the next meeting,
Yeah, you would sign the
Yep.
accounts payable and it would just be
Yeah.
a check in the accounts payable.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you guys are all in agreement that you wanna.
I think we are.
proceed, then, right?
Yeah, and as far as installation, the extra work to move any of those brackets that needed to be moved to slide the inserts in behind them, is that something that we will be paying for, or that somebody might be generously donating? Looking directly
So
at
that's
you.
what I meant, I moved that in my email. All the windows are really close, you ideally need 7/8 of an inch
I remember you
clearance.
saying that, yeah.
It's
It's
fairly
so
close,
close.
one definitely is like, no, that one's gotta move. I mean, they could all be moved without too much, maybe a couple hours worth of work. Unscrew them, bump them over, put them right back up in there. There was talk, if you guys were gonna use this as an opportunity to change over, but.
Change the blinds?
Two different.
Yeah.
The blinds are pretty crappy, but they work.
We're in the cheat mode right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is not
I heard
top of
that.
the list. That is definitely not top of the
We're
list,
gonna have to get along for the next year.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
so.
Um,
And while we're in there, I will personally volunteer to dust all those windows before you put, because they are pretty bad.
well, it'll be interesting, we're building them in that room, so.
I did talk to Kevin, I don't know if you've talked to Bragg about the historic HDC aspect of this, and he didn't
No,
see
I
an
haven't.
issue, he didn't see an issue at all.
Very good, okay, and now we've consulted with them, so.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good thing. Okay.
Either myself or, we'll get lines moved if necessary.
Okay.
A screw gun and some patience, we'll get it.
Ken's here too.
Huh?
I said Ken's around too, I heard.
Yeah, okay.
Alright,
Alright,
And we got you out by
so,
7.
maybe about a week before I get that measurement and final number.
Yep. Right,
Copy both of you, one or the other, or?
you can go and send it to both of us and then we'll just, well, like I say, next accounts payable,
Yeah.
they'll just do a check.
So should I plan my, next month's, beginning of the month board of selectmen, I'll be.
no, actually, the next
23rd is,
yeah,
23rd is
23rd of
next one.
September.
So you should
We
give us
should
the,
try to target that, and so I gotta
Yes.
get that to you.
you gotta get us the payment information too, so Mary can make the check.
Okay. Well, now it gives me something to target.
There you go.
And you're
The
heading to the,
23rd.
yes, you're heading to the energy committee meeting now.
Yes,
I will attempt to get there when I can.
have a pretty simple agenda tonight.
Okay,
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
your
Jeff.
time, sir. You leaving us still?
Yeah, I hate to, but I gotta make awesome dinner.
I was Love eating me a loaf of bread that I could eat all day.
Sweet.
Wish you go to.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Good night,
Bye,
Sylvia.
good night.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you.
When did Calvin evaporate? When is
He
that?
left, yeah, with everybody else.
Okay,
Alright, why don't I go back to the,
Signatures?
yep, signatures, we'll get through the rest of them and move on. Alright, so I have an interfund transfer in the amount of $14,200 from TD Bank,
Operating.
thank you. Yep,
is that change use, land use change tax? Why is that?
right, yes it is.
Yeah, it says
Yep.
LUCT.
Yep,
There we go, Art, it's land use change tax.
alright. And then it looks like a second one in the amount of $962.50.
Also conservation?
Also conservation, right Cal?
Yep. Okay, great.
Alright. Thank you. Come on.
I believe it's dark out already, we're getting, it looks dark out there from here.
Alright, and last on the to sign is the security alarm passcode policy. So I'm gonna just sign and pass it along, we don't need a motion or anything.
Okay.
So that everybody gets a chance to read it.
Can we, did you already send this to us at some point?
Yeah,
Okay.
there was some emails going back and
Alright.
forth about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
changing it, not changing it.
Right.
But was it attached? I'm assuming it was. Alright, I'm sure it is.
Alright, so I think we're through everything on to sign. Yep. Alright, thank you. Back to you along with the sign folder. Alright, and that I think is in the blue folder, right Cal, the minutes?
The minutes are in your fancy
Yeah.
colored folders.
Yes, exactly.
And when you're done reading the non-public ones,
Yep.
please pass them down.
Okay, yep, understood. Alright, so why don't we take these separately then? So, the public meeting minutes from the August 19th, 2024 meeting.
They were fine, I found one typo. Or grammar wrong, yes, calorie.
Okay,
There was nothing that needed.
alright, so looking for a motion then for the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright, the non-public meeting from the executive session of August 19th, 2024.
Yeah, that seemed fine.
Okay, I'll look for a motion then to approve.
So moved.
And seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, I'll pass
Pass
those
them,
in to
one,
Cal.
2, 3 to Cal.
Very good. And let's see, so those are public, so those can stay. Alright, so that's through that. So Ken, we are at new business then, right?
That should be in your new business folder.
Yep. Alright, so we have a ZBA notice from the town of Andover. Notifying us of a public hearing on Tuesday, September 17th, 2024 at 7:35 PM at the Andover Town Hall concerning a request from Vertex Towers to allow a personal wireless service facility in the village zone. Property is located off of Sillyville Road, tax map 28-085-090.
And there's a second letter of the second property.
And why are
So this
we
is,
getting this?
this is considered a regional impact.
Yeah.
And any regional impact, you have to notify, towns in a certain area.
Right, and the second,
Would you pass that down to Ken, please? They're nice menthol.
there you go.
Goodness.
I think I may have used those a time
Yeah,
or two
go-
as well.
Go right ahead. Anybody need a menthol goodness? They're very good.
Alright, so the second notice is also from Andover ZBA, public hearing, Tuesday, September 17th, 2024 at 7:05, concerning a request from Vertex Towers for a personal wireless service facility in the forest/agricultural zone. Property is located at 46 Main Street, tax map 19-108-067.
So a personal wireless facility is basically a cell phone tower?
Cell phone tower.
Okay.
That's what it certainly looks like to me.
That's
Yeah,
I've never heard it called one of those before,
Yeah.
okay. So we don't necessarily need to attend this.
You don't have to attend, it's anything that is considered a regional impact
Okay,
has to be noticed to surrounding towns. And it's not just the budding towns, but it's a region, and so, and I don't know how they figure the region, I'm not sure.
is
Kind of
it,
far away, isn't it? I wonder if my cell tower service is gonna get better.
well, but that's an interesting point. Is it worth it to go at all and see what is said and see what the discussion is and get any materials in case Vertex ever wants to come to Canterbury? I mean, you had.
That may be an opportunity.
Well, you had said that you didn't, when you called them to talk about putting one up at the municipal
talked
center,
to-
they wouldn't even call us back,
Two
so.
different carriers and they wouldn't call us back.
So who's Vertex?
This might be yeah.
Can I get a copy of that, just out of curiosity, and see if,
We'll get you.
alright, yeah, because if it's doable and it's something that we might want, maybe Vertex will talk to us.
We had two people on the CCPC that were gonna work on this, and of course Ellen Bassett's, Scarponi is
yeah.
gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she resigned, I
I didn't know.
think she sent us a letter, or, yeah,
No, it's too bad.
yeah, it is too bad, she was a good one.
Yeah, a great background, so.
Well, would somebody from the CCPC wanna go to this meeting and see what they have to say about cell phone towers?
I think they were meeting maybe this Wednesday, I can't-
Wednesday.
This Wednesday, yeah,
I can get them that info.
Yeah,
that'd probably be a good idea.
and
What
then,
was the meeting time, please?
7:35, I think it
Definitely Gwen's still
7:35
though,
PM.
she's still involved in that part of
Okay.
it, so.
was, yeah, so,
Just take a picture of that,
of course.
and then you don't have to send it to me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the other thought I had was that may be posted on their town's website as well.
Yeah,
On
sure.
Andover's.
It's always,
If you go one more, there's actually a second notice too on that other property.
nothing else, if I ride up with Beth, then you can visit in the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
But it's after farmer's market, which is always tough, but
Yeah.
it might be interesting.
Yeah, you may be able to make it.
Andover, oh,
Yeah, it's
Okay.
doable. Alright, last new business that I have is a communication from Health Trust about the annual member meeting and board elections. Wow, it's hard to believe it's coming, but December the 5th, 2024, at 10 a.m. at Health Trust, which is at 25 Triangle Park Drive in Concord. So, they have open board seats, one for an employee official, one for a county public official, one for a municipal public official, and one for a school public official.
and this is, I'm not familiar with health trusts, so,
It's part of the New Hampshire Municipal Association, they're the ones that provide the health benefits to a lot of municipalities. We get our health benefits from them.
you do, okay.
Yeah.
Could I just see that?
Of course.
Stop, please.
I have one more thing for new business.
Okay.
This is the email from Howard about their,
Oh, yeah, okay. Alright, so this is an email from Howard Moffett.
he had asked to attend the meeting and I didn't know how long it was gonna go. And I said, why don't you he talked to me about it, and I said, why don't you send me an email, and that way you guys can talk about it, instead of keeping Howard here for 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's got a lot going on. So, in part, the email says, on the basis of unanimous votes at CCPC's last committee meeting on August 21st, we respectfully ask the select board to, number one, confirm Tom Franco's nomination and election to succeed me as chair of the Canterbury Community Power Committee, and two, the town's primary representative to the board of directors of the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, effective upon action of the board at tonight's meeting. So why don't we kind of take these one at a time and start there. So I assume you're on board with this.
Yeah,
I talked to Howard yesterday at the, and
We talked to Tom for a while, made sure he was gonna be cool,
And he-
because it's gonna be a
yeah, it
big.
absolutely is. So I'll make that motion that the select board appoint Tom as chair of the CCPC and also as the town's primary representative to the board of directors of the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire.
Oh, and yeah,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, so that's item one. Item two is with respect to Canterbury's alternate representative to the CPCNH Board of Directors going forward. Me, Scott Doherty, who serves in that capacity, told me in a brief exchange yesterday afternoon that he would like to discuss that question with Tom Franco before any decision is made, and that's correct. So just, for information, Tom and I will be discussing that going forward, so. Three, note that Ellen Scarponi, for family reasons, Kelly and Ben Stonebreaker, who have moved to Maine, and myself, because Lois and I are moving to Pennsylvania on September 23rd, will no longer be serving as members of the CCPC. Accordingly, after our next CCPC meeting on September 11th, the committee will consist of the following 7 members. Tom Franco, who we just appointed chair, Lenore Howe, Beth McGuinn, Tim Mead, John Schneider, Cheryl Franco, and Kent as the select board representatives. In due course, we expect the committee will elect a new secretary to succeed Kelly Stonebreaker and such other officers as it deems necessary or appropriate. If you would ask the select board to confirm additional new members, if new volunteers come forward, of course we will. And just a thank you from Howard to Ken, so, anybody that cares to read it?
So, the only thing I have to observe on this is that Kelly Stonebreaker's been the secretary on this, and so we don't have one again. So I don't know, is Michelle something she could do or interested, or do we have any other options?
I don't know.
I could tell Lois she has to stay here, but I don't think she could.
Very doubtful.
I guess that would just have to be an ask from you guys to her.
I mean, we can record it on a tape, but I don't know if that's gonna do much good.
Right, somebody's still gonna transcribe it.
and no one, Lenore would not be interested or anyone else? Yeah,
And that does fall under the open meeting law provisions, so they've got to have minutes available within 5 days and all that applies as well, so
and if
whoever.
if Michelle isn't interested, I know, I did have a talk with Laura Carey over in Bosco, and they have several young women that they hire to do minutes for certain of their boards. And she was willing to share their names at, when I talked to her back this summer. And I don't even know if they attend the meetings, they might just do it for recordings. But they've had very good success with the both of them, and I can ask her again for her name, if Michelle is.
Either that or contact the school district and see if there's a high school age student that is interested in doing it in Canterbury.
I don't know what Michelle's new, how busy her duties keep her, or what she's paid versus anyone else, but.
She took over the
Solid waste.
and the planning board and HTC.
Yeah, so that's a lot. And this, I can assume when you have meetings I don't know how they conflict with any of those other responsibilities, but it might be more than she's willing to do, I don't know. But again, hiring out is one
Worth investigating, I think.
one thing. And I know tonight, one of the, the Energy Committee is talking about is, again, the email that Jeff sent tonight was from the remainder of the Energy Committee. So they are discussing tonight whether or not they want to throw their lot in with the CCPC and what that might mean, and I don't know if any of their remaining members might want to take on a
So
secretarial
who's taking
position.
minutes over there?
I have no idea.
Alright, before Kelly yells at all of us, we all forgot to sign on page 3. You would have caught it, I'm sure. Catch it before it makes its way to you.
Oh. Did you say before Kelly yells at us?
Did I say before Callie?
Oh, I thought you said Kelly, I was like, what?
No, Kelly.
Kelly yells at us enough anyway. Yeah, I don't know who's taking, I haven't made it to a meeting of the energy committee yet. It's been a little complicated. But I know they're talking about it tonight. What the remainder of their committee would, how they would like to proceed.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll be hearing from them shortly.
Yeah. Alright, does any of the select board members have anything else under new business?
Right there, dig it.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's okay. New business, anything,
um,
anything from either of you?
I don't think so. I had a couple of things if we end up going through the action item list, but I don't know if they come under.
That's on the old business,
Yeah.
down at the bottom.
Yeah. Alright, I'll give that to you.
So would, alright, I see the one thing was the actuarial estimate, but that's under old business,
It
that's
is,
already on
yeah.
there. So, I think I'm all set for new
Okay,
business.
so, old business, Lyford Pond Dam update. So I think we all received an email this morning.
Yeah.
That, there were 3 options presented to the committee. And they elected to go with, I think it was option 2, which was the culvert.
Culvert, they repaired the dam.
Which they, very quickly, not a permanent solution, but it buys them the badly needed time, so.
But better than it's
Great.
more than short term, it was like, what do they call it, a midterm type?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we may be talking, I think Jim mentioned potentially a 10-year timeline.
You know, if that dam holds, and there's no reason it shouldn't now, for
Right.
at least a while, they've got a culvert in there now that controls the height of the water.
Yeah, so
I think that's the main thing.
it's great news.
My question was who paid? Did they
So-
pass the hat?
So, Mike Pinard and I don't know if anybody else kicked in, I think maybe Bob did. I wanna talk about some other things, but I don't wanna do it right now.
Okay.
Well,
We can't say who paid?
huh?
Who
Oh,
paid?
I told you, Mike,
Oh, alright,
they took it out of their pocket.
alright.
But it seems to me that this might be a good time to address ownership of the dam and all that, since it's changed. It's,
Right, but I think
But
that's
Lyford, Friends of the
court.
Lyford
The
Pond is still.
ownership determination is currently at the Attorney General's office.
Yeah,
No,
we're expecting a fall decision.
okay, well, I just think we ought to keep an eye on it because
Oh, I agree.
the griddle's hot right
Yeah.
now.
well, that's the point of the Friends of Lyford Pond group, correct? They've organized, they're trying to figure out ownership, or at least this is step one, is fixing it, right? But their ultimate goal is, or one of their ultimate goals, I thought, was to figure out who owns it.
I think that was a directive of the DES.
Yep.
The DES had to, are the ones that contacted the Attorney General's office to determine ownership.
Right.
Because they're the ones who have oversight over the dam, and they have to know who the owner is, so they can provide, like they did earlier, either issues with the dam or things like that.
Correct, but they're going to be talking with the Friends of Lyford Pond Association, or whatever they're calling themselves now,
Well,
right?
the ownership issue, I think, is gonna be determined by the Attorney General's office.
Oh,
It's a
alright.
legal decision, has to be made.
And then once that decision comes down, then the Friends will be talking to.
Whoever the owner is.
Whoever the owner is.
Yeah.
Okay, but we can't really affect that, correct? At
No,
this
but
point,
I
it's in
think-
the hands of,
Kent is suggesting that we just remain aware.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, I just wanted to make sure the moving parts. Okay. So we're, at the moment, we're waiting, and when did you think?
Further on that?
I took some notes.
Okay.
I mean, most of the rest of the stuff was just business of the group
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
They do have a new president,
They posted that on Facebook,
Did they?
actually, the complete slate,
Yeah,
so
and I think I think they filled the other position,
They did.
I had to leave.
And Jonas is no longer head.
correct, Jonas is no longer.
And
That's too
neither
bad.
is Joanna.
No, I know they
And
were stepping.
Joanna,
Ishtar.
Mishno, and, John Mishno.
I do have the secretary's name, but that's all I got.
Yeah.
I'll check with her,
Yeah,
for the rest of the contact information for this.
Okay.
Well, that's too bad, Jonas is a loss, I think.
He is, but this whole thing has just been a very uncomfortable position for everybody up there, so
Yeah.
no big surprise.
alright, one Carter Hill Road update,
I received another email from the property owner. They're going through a, bankruptcy. And the property, any action that's taken on the property has to go through the, bankruptcy management team. So they are working on it, but
Even cleaning it up has to go through the bank.
that was the email that I got. Anything to do with the property has to go through the bankruptcy management team. He did give me a email contact for his son who was trying to work to clean the place up, so, that's all we have right now.
And you've got an official address for, or a contact for the bankruptcy
I
management
do
team?
not have, I do not. I sent an email to the son today, I haven't received a response yet. So,
I would think it would be important to know that one, if they actually have one, and two, it's legit.
Yeah.
Since, it seems like this matter just keeps getting kicked down the road
yes.
for a variety of reasons.
Well, it looks to me like every time they take a truckload out, they bring another one.
Yeah,
It's-
I just went by there the other day, it's still just as bad.
2 Saturdays ago, mid-morning, I drove past there and they were unloading full-size car.
Yeah, well, and they
Yeah.
also got trucks and vehicles underneath the barn area that they appear to be working on, so.
So my thought is, we revisit this at our next meeting and think about, giving them a firm deadline with sanctions if they don't comply. Because this is.
Well, there's also a daughter involved in the ownership of this,
Yes,
is
yes.
there? Are we in contact with her, or?
I have not received any communication from her.
Does she know we're talking?
The cease and desist letter went out to the owners,
Okay.
so I don't know, but I haven't received any contact from her. communication.
So can we contact, as the town with this situation, contact the bankruptcy management people and say, look, this
I
needs to be
don't
cleaned
know,
up?
I think that'd be a question for our attorney, I don't know what our, I think the next step is to, under the obnoxious use, that you have a public hearing, declare it public obnoxious use, and then send a cease and desist letter for that
Everybody.
zoning- to that zoning.
Yeah.
Reference that zoning ordinance.
But does cease and desist just mean stop bringing in new stuff? What does it do about cleaning up old stuff?
It talks about the obnoxious use, and you would determine at that hearing what the use was and what has to stop.
And then what's our enforcement on that?
Well, the
Finding
enfor-
or,
So the enforcement is that, you send a cease and desist letter out, and you give them a certain amount of days to comply, and if they don't, then you seek conjunctive relief through the court system. And our attorney would petition the Superior Court, and there are fines from $250 for the first day and $500 per day after that.
okay, well. I'm still curious how you file for bankruptcy from Tyler? Okay.
Alright, next item, actuarial estimate for unfunded liability calculation.
Those,
So I sent you guys all copies of the proposal. It's basically, it's $3,500, it's a 4-year contract. It's $3,500 the first year, $1,000 the next year, then $3,500 and then $1,000 after that. And they work with towns our size.
they had lots of, if you don't mind my saying that I'm looking in my computer to get that up. their rates were reasonable. I thought their experience was good with other towns. This next, which one is it? Never find the profit and loss, budget.
There's a paper copy, in a old business.
So is there, I've got all the emails that you sent me, but I can't tell from the,
Yeah, just,
This was KMS.
yeah.
There you go.
yeah. No, they were good, and it was, let's see, they are currently, currently doing work in New Hampshire, Berlin, Coos County, Epping, Fremont, Grantham, Hanover, Hampton. I mean, the company itself, I think, is very legit, the whole town of Keene, Loudon, Manchester. I think there was another couple of counties, but and GASB 75 requires that we do it. So I don't know how we could shop around, I suppose, and get a better price, but those prices from what the questions I've asked seem reasonable, and then we'll know. And I think there's another part where when was the last time we took out a bond? Was Gold Star our last bond?
No, last bond,
Yeah,
no, we took out a bond for,
Municipal complex, but that's.
well, no, we've taken bonds out for the
fire engine.
For the fire engine, for bridges.
what was the most recent?
I think it would be the command car.
Yeah.
So within the last couple of years.
Okay. Yeah.
The only reason, because the one thing that I had thought about this was, or that, again, that I had heard about this, was that if we don't have that calculation, and if that notice keeps going forward on our auditor's report, that when we go looking for bonds, it can ding us and increase our rate. So, personally, I still think it's worth to have the calculation, especially if GASB 75 requires it. And we haven't done it now in 5 years. 5 years we haven't had it.
Yeah, well, the law changed to that we started 5 years ago, they wanted us to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think, to me, it's the price of doing business.
Well, so we can certainly, I think, have this to discuss in the budget committee, but I agree, I think if we're required to do it, we need to do it.
Yeah.
I don't have to like it, but.
No. It's another one of those laws. Kinda like right to know.
Yeah, exactly. Action items review is where we are.
Excuse me.
Oh, I don't think I have a copy of it, do I?
It should have been in
Your break.
your blue folder,
This one.
Okay, I'll get it.
That's next one.
This I don't need.
Alright, so, move official roadmap process forward, so,
they haven't finished the master plan, so this can't move.
there we go. Okay, so there's our answer. Any idea where they are, Cal and Greg?
So the problem.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
The problem right now with that is that the Mike Tardif and their computer down there crapped out, so we're meeting tomorrow night, but we're not gonna be reviewing things, cause it'll be one night with people having this stuff, I guess, I haven't
Okay.
seen it yet.
Yeah, so it's just, really, yeah,
Got it.
okay. Alright, draft letter to Joe thanking him for his service and certificate of appreciation.
That's on like late night,
Okay.
then doing other things.
Yeah.
Do we need to do anything other than a letter, or is that
I
sufficient?
think we talked about a certificate of appreciation and inviting Joe to a select board meeting, and presenting him with that letter and a certificate of appreciation. for Beth, rewrite draft code of conduct, which I think you've done.
I've been working on it and I've got about 15 more pieces of paper that I put in that file that I now need to actually put into the document.
Okay.
And I believe I will have time to do that this coming week.
Okay. Also Beth, attend fire department monthly
I
meeting.
haven't, and I really want
I
to,
was
so
gonna
I
say
will,
that.
I will do that.
Yep.
Now,
How about, have you toured the police department?
no, but I seem to be talking to Chief Carney a lot, so
Okay.
I will make sure that I do that.
Very good.
I'm past there a lot, so.
Alright.
My action item list is for me to attend to this week.
Okay. For Rachel, make video about library-town relationship, which I think probably references the RSA's concerning. Yeah. Yeah, so.
We've
I don't
heard
know
it, so.
where that is, so,
I can email her.
yeah, there you go. It sounds reasonable. Ken write up agreement with SFA regarding M101 L62.
These are lots,
It's a map and lot, they wanted access
good.
to that, their property through the town property.
Understood,
And
okay.
they were going to give me measurements and everything, and I
Still
haven't
waiting.
heard back from them.
Okay. Alright, Ken, coop plan, get more info.
And I'm working
You're
on it.
working on, and that is having partial responsibility for a coop plan, I know exactly where you are, so.
Yep.
Ken, check with legal about CPC proposal.
And this has to do with the solar projects. Those would have to go to the town for a warrant article. Even if you're going to, even if the money is going to be reimbursed, we've done similar type things with the breathing apparatus and the fire truck. We put a warrant article in that says the town's gonna expend this money if we get a grant. And I know the grant paperwork has already been submitted. If it gets approved, then this would be more or less a no-brainer at town meeting that you could propose the warrant article and say, we've received word that we've been approved for the grant, we just need the town's permission to move ahead with the project, so.
I will say, it looks more positive than it did 2 weeks ago, so.
no, that's good.
But it would have to be a warrant article.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but now we know, so. Alright, Ken, put notice in newsletter about flag donation.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet, I thought that probably would hold off until springtime. We typically replace it on Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So I thought the best time to do that would be start like April 1st and see if I could bring that up and say for the Memorial Day activities, if we could try to get in the flag donated.
Sounds good.
Oh, is this for requesting a flag donation or we got a flag donation?
Requesting.
How much is the
Dale-
flag?
What?
How much is the flag?
What do we fly there,
Dale has
4x6?
Yeah, Dale Caswell's been donating it.
Yeah.
Or buying it, and then he said this is last year, he was gonna do something probably, and so,
Well, the Alfred Sembrook Memorial Fund would be happy to donate a flag.
well, that's like,
Beth.
My dad was a firm believer in flying the flag.
Good. Yeah. So we could get details, I'm sure, from Dale on the
Yes.
size flag he usually
Yep.
gets and
Yep.
maybe.
I didn't
even a
realize that
supply.
was a possibility.
Yeah. Alright, publicize Comcast ready addresses, Ken.
yep, I sent an email to Brian, he called me today, I missed his call because I was on another call. I called him back and I got his voicemail, so. I will keep attempting to contact him.
Yeah, and I do know that the salespeople have started going door to door.
Great.
When you talk to him, you remember at one point he said there would be 12, maybe 15 addresses.
Yes.
Maybe find out what their status is and
Yep.
if he has an idea of when, cause
Sure.
that really would be the last ones,
Right.
so.
Okay.
And in addition to publicizing the ready addresses, when are we actually going to sign the franchise or the
I
refranchise
sent him the
agreement?
franchise agreement or the concerns that you had with the franchise agreement. And again, he called me and we played phone tag for a couple
Okay.
of days, so I just haven't been able to connect with him.
Okay,
He asked that I call him and talk to him versus just doing it via email.
Okay,
Oh, gotcha, okay.
but he's got our,
He has the,
the verbiage that we
he
wanted
has
to.
what you would
Alright.
ask for about the internet.
Yeah.
Provision in there and
The density clause
requirement.
definition.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Alright, forward minutes from CRSW meeting to Board of Selectmen when they are released.
Yep, and when I get them, I'll send them out.
Okay,
refresh me, CRSW. Oh, Concord Regional Solid Waste,
Yes,
got it.
alright,
They're still
convey,
not released?
they have, what?
They still haven't,
They haven't sent them out.
oh, okay, don't they have 5 days?
Don't know.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll check with them.
they should, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Alright,
Yes, check.
Ken, convey counteroffer to employee regarding tuition payback.
Yes, so I checked with the attorney, they sent out a return receipt letter.
Yeah.
It was returned, address, not deliverable. So
Okay.
apparently I contacted the town of Northfield where he's working now, confirmed that is his mailing address. So apparently he just refused to sign the card.
Gotcha.
So I will contact the attorney on Wednesday and we'll talk about proceeding through small things court.
Alright,
Waste.
yeah, Ken, follow up with,
Excuse me.
Ken, follow up with vendor about library door.
Yep, I spoke with Mr. Berwick today and he was gonna jump right on that.
Very good.
Alright.
That's what he said.
Yep. Alright, next item, place ads for plow drivers.
Yep, I sent a contract to our attorney today for approval and he sent it back with his markups and I just have to get it formatted and sent out.
Cool.
So this is different from the contract that,
No, this is the contract.
This
for
is the
plow
contract?
drivers, yeah.
okay, so not ads for plow dryers, but contracts?
Well,
Oh, and then we need to
I wanted
place
the
the ad.
contract in place before we place the ad.
Got it,
Yeah.
got it.
Alright, next item, I think we've already addressed tonight, new draft of alarm policy, which is what we signed tonight, so. Question mark, guys, so who was gonna take care of this? Check other trees around municipal building for fall risks.
So I was gonna ask John to do that, so it's just on his plate.
Yeah.
It's on the road agent's plate,
Yeah.
check.
So that's all set though, the panels that,
So,
Jim Santana got,
the panels got replaced, but there's a problem with another array up there, and Jim Snyder is working on it.
Oh, good.
He does not have an estimate.
might it need one of the extra panels that he bought?
No, it's a problem with most likely
Yeah.
some kind of connection, so.
The one thing I was curious about when I was looking at when I was signing manifest last week or something is, when Jim took a trip down to get those panels, it was like $200 or whatever the cost was for him we just pay regular miles per mileage for him.
Federal mileage reimbursement.
Okay. Okay, cause I looked at the math of where he was going, it was pretty close, so I was figuring that's what we were paying, I just wanted to make sure.
Alright, next item, I
We
think.
measured,
Yep, we measured, Ken's schedule working session for EC, CCPC, and Board of Selectmen regarding combining committees.
So I haven't done anything with that yet, my focus has been on the budget committee and all this.
it'd be interesting to hear what the Energy Committee says after their meeting tonight, cause that's
Yeah.
what they're discussing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we can get a report from them, or
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of minutes, as you say, Kent, I'm not sure who's currently taking minutes over there, so we'll see what information we get.
Next item, follow up with Kevin Bragg regarding replacement tree in the center.
And I did that,
Yeah.
talked about that earlier.
Yep. And the last one, we've done our part, which is return the Comcast proposal with edits. So we're just waiting for Brian or somebody to get back. Ken, I'll give you back your copy.
Oh, wait, there's one more thing that's not on here, but I had on my list was what we want to choose to do about hearing back or not hearing back from Mike Riffleoff, who is the colleague of Art Rose's that he was going to talk to, and what we wanna proceed with that? We tried to call him, he was supposed to call back.
So I talked to him twice, once with Beth on the phone, he said to call him back. If I didn't hear from him the following Wednesday, I didn't hear from him, so I called him back. He said that he was gonna contact Art as soon as possible and set up a date to come and look at all the roads and give us a proposal. And that was 2 weeks ago.
And what was your feeling on how much time we have or don't have, or how much more effort we should put into?
So we have until the end of the calendar year of 2024, come up with a something, contract to sign. I don't know.
Like anything else, it seems we have trouble having people get back, who wanna get back to us, who wanna work with us, who wanna take our money. So, how do we?
It's frustrating.
Do we contact him one more, and by we, the royal we, by, contact him one more time and say, okay, we,
I would say give him a deadline, and if he doesn't respond by the end of September, then we have to move on to something else or someone else or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I think that's good.
What were the requirements on what we could spend that money on again? Was there broad outlines or?
Very broad, it's almost easier to say what we can't spend it on, which are investments, or pay off an existing bond or loan. I don't know, there's 3 or 4 other things, but not many.
Yeah.
We can use it for personnel costs, we can use it for, pretty much anything.
personnel costs, oh, sorry.
Till the end of next year.
Correct, we have till the end of 2025 to pay, to spend.
Well, we have to decide by
We
the
have
end
to
of this year.
decide, we have to have some kind of decision by the end of this year.
Is there a written policy for what we can use that for, somewhere that I could look at, so just to, where is it?
Sure, I'll send you the website.
Oh geez, just give me the link. Well, no, I'm curious because can we use, I mean, if personnel is one of them and we're sorely needing personnel, can we use it as a incentive? Is that legit? Not all of it, but can we offer more than we would have normally to get the warm bodies that we're not currently getting?
Some municipalities have used it to supplement, employees, hire more people, so to
Yeah.
speak. The problem is, at the end of when the money's gone, the
Correct.
money's gone, and you either have to increase your budget, or you have to let that employee go. So that's the catch with that.
Understood, but if we're looking to say for this winter hire contract people and we're still having problem even finding them, can we offer them at least at this time when we might have money in hand, or for next winter, whatever, however we organize it, a bonus, basically a sign-on bonus to a contractor, which is not somebody we're gonna be hiring forever.
You can use it for a short-term fix like that if you, yeah. Bosquen, part of their ARPA money went to that, recording system that they set up and everything they have.
Oh, the mics and
All the
everything?
microphones and
Oh,
all the electronics that they have in their town office, so. There's a lot of things you can use it for, new desks, new tables, pretty much anything like that, but, I mean, we were looking for the biggest bang for a buck at the time.
oh, yeah,
so,
yeah. Well, it still seems at the moment the biggest need for us is bodies to get things done. And again, the roads, but we still can't find the bodies to do the roads even so. So if Mr. Bristlehoff doesn't get back to us, I mean, we can keep looking, and there's the other, I don't know what other companies to contact. But, again, can we use part of that to at least make our offer more attractive? I don't know.
I will send you the link to the, website.
It'll be interesting to see, but how about we start with Mike Bristlehoff and see if we can at least get him to get back to us by September, either yes or no, just yes or no. If you're gonna say no, please just say no, So we can
Yeah.
continue the discussion productively some other way. Cause it's just too frustrating. And is Art Rose just out of the picture? Is he just disappeared? Do we,
Well,
okay,
wonderful.
have you heard from him?
Nope.
Have you tried to hear from him?
Nope.
Okay, well,
Same arrows?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to.
okay.
Yeah.
That was the only other thing I had on my thing was how to, oh, and did, I had on my notes that John was going to a training today. Did he go? Was it good?
I saw him up at the school and I did not have a chance to talk with him.
Okay.
It's nice to have him to show up today and help set that up.
It was very
He's
nice.
the only one that really understands it. I guess John did, but.
Yeah. We had lots of help up there setting up things. That is good.
Move to adjourn?
Did we talk about Maple Grove expansion ledger sheet? Why do we have this in our thing?
Sam's trying to keep you up to date on what we're spending money on.
Yeah, that's the spreadsheet that I think I said at the last meeting that they might need $3,500 or so, and that's just the sheet that.
Okay,
We should know better. We met with Brian the other day,
That's what he
with those
said.
trees, yeah.
the grass looks beautiful. Okay, if that's all we needed to discuss about it, then, yeah, looks good.
Alright, we have a motion and a second to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.